What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living here in Accra, Ghana. And if you want to know more about dual citizenship and what it is like moving here to Ghana, then this is the video for you. All right, guys. Welcome to this week's live. This is Monday, September 13th. And today's live is about dual citizenship here in Ghana. People have been asking a lot of questions about citizenship, just things pertaining to the move and how do you obtain your citizenship. So I was on a live yesterday that featured, I don't want to get it wrong, but his name was Mr. Anyway, he was the director of diaspora affairs for the government here in Ghana. And so he was speaking about the Homeland Return Act, which is meant to kind of speed up the process to becoming a dual citizen here and removing some of the restrictions. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because some people have been asking me about that. Unfortunately, I don't think I can do it because I'm already a dual citizen somewhere else. And so I don't think that will allow me to do that because I'm a dual citizen in the U.S. and in Sierra Leone. But that doesn't mean that you can't. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I do have a special guest that will be joining us. Her connection is a bit spotty. So we'll see what we can do to get her on. And hopefully she'll be able to join us and you guys will be able to hear her. Shout out to everybody who's joining and all the comments coming in. Evan Channy, peace and blessings. What's up to you? Tabasco is saying, where's Ivy? Ivy is the special guest. She will be joining us in a second. She's having some technical difficulties with her connection. Gotta love it here in Ghana. That can be an issue from time to time. So hopefully we'll be able to get her on here in a second because she is a bit of an expert as it comes to these kinds of things. Only one says, hello, everyone. Hello. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for joining. What's up to Bossy Boo 32? Shout out to Mr. Bounce Los Angeles. Salute to you, brother. What is it? Dita Johnson. Shout out to you. Stanley Smith. A bunch of people are joining from Instagram. So the Instagram live folks. So thank you all for joining. What's up? I'm going to pin your first time seeing me live. Thanks, Bossy Boo. Thanks for showing up. I am going to send you the, I'm going to pin the link to the YouTube live if you guys want to join there. Since I do like a little bit of a presentation really quickly before I start. Movie Guy, I think this is your first time commenting. Shout out to you. Thanks for joining. Tabasco says, so you can't hold 3 citizenship. I do think there are certain countries where you can have multiple citizenships. Not every country allows that. I think there are some restrictions on certain countries. YOA says, yo, what's up to you? What's up, Miss Shonda? Shout out to you. Hello. Thanks for joining. And Mr. Bounce Los Angeles asks, are you considered Ghanaian American or American with citizenship? So if you become a dual citizen, you do have all the rights of a local citizen. From the Q&A that I heard yesterday, that is the case. But before I get started with the content here, because I do want to make sure we try to get Ivy on as well, just because she had a lot of the information already prior to yesterday's live stream, where we listened in, and they had the director of diaspora affairs talking about what this new act entails and what it means for people who want to become citizens in Ghana. So I'm going to get into that into a second, but just real quickly, Odie says, what's good, everyone? What's up? All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen and get right into it. For those of you who are new, I see some people who are new on Instagram, some folks that are new here on YouTube and Facebook. Again, my name is Joannis, or some people call me Joe. A lot of people call me Joe. My last name is Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American, and I live here in Accra, Ghana. But my channels, specifically the lives on Instagram and all of my content on YouTube, is focused on my move to the continent, me buying a house in Sierra Leone or buying property in Sierra Leone, building a house in Sierra Leone, which I haven't put out the content yet, but it's coming. Interviewing people from the diaspora that have moved here, and just all of the experiences going to historical sites, and even beyond that, even going to just learning how to get my Wi-Fi set up here at home, doing getting my phone service and sending mobile money, all those different things that it takes a while for us who are from the diaspora who move here are not familiar with. So that is something that I want to share on my page and on my channels. And so, and then Authentic African on Instagram is a little bit more broad, because that page started in 2019, long before I even decided to move to Ghana. So it's really more about the diaspora and Africa, our African history, things that are happening in the diaspora with news, and then just sometimes some funny things that happen in our community. All right, so with that, let me quickly pull up the presentation. Again, I'm a big PowerPoint guy. I do PowerPoints for my day job, and I have been forever. So so bear with me, guys. I want to just do a quick PowerPoint. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is something I do almost every week in my live, just so people can know a little bit about who I am, what I'm doing, and the schedule. So really quickly, let's run through the schedule. There's a couple things. Bossy Boo is saying, I bet, please do share that kind of move and decision. So yeah, I'll share all about my move and stuff. We'll have time for Q&A after. We can talk about that for sure. I do put out videos on YouTube 3 times a week. Ideally, last week was only 2 times, so this week is going to be 4 videos this week. And usually it's on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays is the live, 9 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. right now because of daylight savings, 5 p.m. PST, 5 p.m. EST, 2 p.m. PST. So those are the time zones, but just know it's always going to be 9 p.m. GMT on Mondays, at least for the foreseeable future. Wednesdays, actually, let me just get into the presentation. Wednesdays, it is usually at 5 p.m. GMT, and on Saturdays it's 5 p.m. GMT. And so Wednesdays is just like my weekly vlog, what this last week has been like for me here. This Wednesday is going to be interesting. I'm going to tell you guys about a couple of interviews I did. This weekend was packed full of interviews. I did 6 interviews. It's kind of crazy to think, 6 interviews. One was actually with Ivy, with one of the publications that she writes for, Atlanta Black Star. So that was actually really cool. So so she interviewed me for that. And then I also was interviewed by Sam from Ghana Bound, and I also got a chance to interview him. And we're actually working on scheduling an interview with Yaba, his wife, who's the second half of, or the other half of Ghana Bound. They're really dope people. They're diasporans from, they're Ghanaians, lived in the UK and moved back here. So we have some content that we've done together. So I can't wait for you guys to see that. And then I also met up with the diaspora. I also met with Destination Africa. I don't even know how I got that wrong, but Destination Africa, or Destination Africa Group TV, is their YouTube channel. And that's another couple. And they are also from the UK, but they're from Ghanaian descent, spent some time here in their childhood, lived in the UK, and then moved back. But they have a really awesome company doing some really cool things. And so I interviewed both of them, and then they both interviewed me. So I did 2 interviews with them, just talking about my experience, dating, and all of that kind of stuff. So that should be some interesting content coming soon. Whenever that comes out, I'll make sure to share it with my subscribers, so you guys can go check out the content on their site, and then of course, or on their page. And then, of course, I have my own content that I shot with them as well. So that's what those Saturdays usually are what that will encompass, these kinds of interviews with different people. So Wednesdays is really like what my last week has been like. And so it'll be sometimes behind the scenes footage of the things that I'm shooting for that week that might end up coming out on a Saturday. Right now, I have a ton of content that I shot in Sierra Leone that I still need to get out to you guys. People have been asking me about Sierra Leone. I went weeks ago, at this point, months ago, and I'm just now getting some of that content out because editing is a challenge. For anybody who has a YouTube channel that's watching this, you guys know. So, so that is being worked on as we speak. And so I went to the slave castle on Bunce Island in Sierra Leone. It's a 2-part series. Part 1, I'm posting probably tomorrow morning. So you guys will get a chance to see that. Very different from the slave castles that I visited here in Ghana. A whole different story, different look, feel, the whole thing. It's a destroyed slave castle, so it's a whole different background and story. So that's done in 2 parts. And so you'll get part 1 tomorrow, just really kind of some of the background and the history and what it looks like to actually travel to get there. So all of that is coming. So that'll be probably tomorrow, and then part 2 will more than likely be out by Saturday. So the content on Saturdays, as of right now, is mostly content from Sierra Leone. Okay, cool. So that is the video schedule. If anything changes, just check the posts or the community tab. I definitely post in the community tab on YouTube when I'm changing dates for videos if I haven't edited them in time. As always, make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you know every time a new video comes out. Comment on every video as much as possible. It's free to do, and the more you do it, the more it gets in front of more people. If you all find this valuable, then I ask that you just share it with your friends and family, anybody who's interested in what's happening with people from the diaspora in Ghana or who are thinking about moving or even potentially visiting. This kind of information would be good for them to have. All right. So really quickly, the website, once again, is authenticafrican.com. A couple things here that I want to mention that I haven't mentioned in previous lives, and I realized that I completely neglected that. But a portion of the proceeds for Authentic African goes to feeding Africans here on the continent, mostly people who are in my close vicinity. So, for instance, one time a year I do a food drive kind of situation with a friend of mine, Duan. We did it last year, and we go out and pass out meals to the hungry and the underserved here locally in Accra. And so, a portion of the proceeds that are made from Authentic African do go towards buying those meals and serving those meals to those kids. And so I do always mention Authentic African because not only am I helping African artisans who create these products and build these and make all of these kinds of products, baskets and collectibles and shea butter and all of that on the continent, I am selling it right now in the US. I don't think that I can deliver to Canada as of yet, but I can deliver to the 50 states in the US. And as of right now, that is who I am servicing. So if you are in the US and you want to buy products that are authentic African products made on the continent by Africans, then you have that capability through authenticafrican.com. So check out the site, see if there's anything there you want. You can buy it, and just know a portion of the proceeds does go to helping to feed some local Africans, especially Ghanaians here in Ghana, and also it will go to some Sierra Leoneans as well when I spend some time in Sierra Leone. So that is the website. So we're going to talk about dual citizenship today. I'm going to talk about a live stream that I was watching last night with the director of diaspora affairs, and I'm hoping that I can get Ivy to join. I know that she has been having some technical difficulties, as I mentioned earlier. So it may not be possible to get her on. So I'll do my best to answer most of the questions as they come in. And if she does come in later, then we'll just save some of those questions for her. So yeah, let me go ahead and stop sharing that second screen. Let me read some of the questions and comments really quickly. Let's see who we got here on Instagram. Okay, no new questions on Instagram, but we do have a couple on YouTube. So we got Kwame saying, hope you're well. Hello, everyone. What's up? What's up? Thanks for joining. We got Pack Bert. Have you received the money to defraud you? Okay, so before I get into the content of today, some people have been asking about this, so maybe I should answer it here because there's a big enough audience here to talk about it. So no, I have not gotten the money back from getting scammed last, I guess, about a week and a half ago. And I won't be getting that money back. It's very unlikely because the way it works is I sent the money. The money was already taken out of the mobile money account by the person, right? So they have it physically in hand. Any other money that goes to them is someone else's money. And so if their account gets frozen, that money should be returned to those other people. It would not be fair to those other people who potentially have gotten scammed for their money to come to me, right? So I actually don't even want my money back because I wouldn't be able to get it back unless it was the people who actually stole the money could actually physically give the money back that they stole from me. But I think that any other income they're making is scamming other people, and I don't want that money. I want that money to be returned to those people. So yeah, and then Pac also says too, it's too bad that they scammed me. Yes, it is too bad that I got scammed. Really quickly, for those who don't know, if you guys didn't watch the video, I'm not a person who usually gets caught up by any of these scams. You know, like there's definitely been many attempts in my 37 years on this planet, and it hasn't happened really ever. But in this case, I was got. What happened was a friend of mine who is a wholesaler. Well, she buys wholesale, sells retail in Sierra Leone. She had decided that she wanted to branch out into a wig business, and she wanted to start selling wigs in Sierra Leone. And she found a vendor here. Now, one step back. About 2 weeks prior to that, I had purchased bags on her behalf with her information printed on it, her logo, all that kind of stuff. And the way it was done is we had to pay for it up front, and then they delivered a finished product to us later. So since that had happened once, I was under the assumption that is kind of how certain things happen with those kinds of businesses here. So I didn't even think twice about sending my funding to them to get my money back, or to get the services that they said that they were going to render. Unfortunately, that did not happen. As soon as the money was sent, they retrieved the funds and then ceased to communicate with us. So we no longer spoke to them, and we had no idea. We had no way of getting in touch with them because every means that we tried, they didn't respond. They even blocked her, so she wasn't even able to communicate with them. And so basically, we just had to chalk it up as a loss. But I also learned a valuable lesson. No matter what, I only pay for a portion up front until the services are rendered, and then I complete the payment. So that's the lesson learned. Anybody who is out there planning to move and you're thinking about doing any business, that's something that I would recommend you do. Okay. On that note, let's see if there's any more questions. Cali Cow says he likes what he's hearing so far. Solid from Ja African. A question: is the vaccine a forced policy out there? It is not a forced policy. Um, Nor is it technically anywhere in the Western world, as far as I understand. I know that there are strongly suggesting it, and there are a lot of disagreements on vaccines, so we're not going to get into that right now. But I don't think there's any. I mean, there are companies that can decide to say if you don't have the vaccine, you can't patronize my business, which does happen. That's a capitalistic society that we all live in. If we love capitalism, then we have to know that companies can make those kinds of decisions. However, only federal workers, as far as I understand, in the U.S. have been required to do it in terms of like from the government standpoint. But anyway, not to get off on that tangent on vaccines, that was a question that came up, so I answered it. Nick is asking, what is the topic today? The topic today is on dual citizenship here in Ghana and how it can be obtained. I was supposed to have a special guest, but she was having some technical difficulties, and it looks like she is still having some technical difficulties. Because the last message I sent her just a minute before we went live has not been received by her as of yet. So, unfortunately, she is probably not going to be able to join right away. So we'll just have to answer your questions and at the best of my ability, and then if there's anything that I miss, we'll follow up with answers from Ivy. Okay, so there's a question from Tino. You should have done your assignment before purchasing anything online in Ghana. Yeah, Tino. Listen, I get it. I mean, there's been a lot of people who are saying to me, like, how could you even make that mistake? It makes no sense. So there's a lot of things that are things to just keep in mind as it pertains to this. I was doing a friend a favor, and so she has this business, and she's had this business where she buys products from people outside of Sierra Leone, and she's been doing it for 2.5, 3 years now. And so she's bought products from people in Ghana before. In this particular instance, I did all of the transactions based on her research and her knowledge of her industry and her business, right? So for me, it wasn't as if I was going to do any digging on her behalf, because one, she asked me to purchase bags on her behalf that were done with her logo and all that kind of stuff. So when she sells her clothes, she has it's like marketing on the bag. that went off with no issues. I mean, there were some issues with quality, but they reprinted them and did everything we went the way we wanted. It's like 600 bags now I think we have, and so all of that worked, right? Um, and so it was with the exact same process where we paid for everything up front and they gave us the finished product after it was paid for. And so because it had just happened and because it wasn't my particular business, it was just me doing a favor for a friend because the payment had to be done through mobile money, through Vodafone. Her living in Sierra Leone didn't have a Vodafone account. So I was doing it because I had a Vodafone account. So I made the purchase on her behalf. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, but obviously, lesson learned. No matter what, I'll never do that again. Whether it's for someone else or if it's for myself, I'll never do that again. But I get what you're saying. Um, Jack Jackson says, lately I'm hearing of so many scams happening. Is there a BBB there in Ghana or SL? A Better Business Bureau, no, but there are some kinds of equivalents from time to time. And we do have a place where if there's a business that is unsavory or isn't providing the services that they say they are, you can report them. I don't have the name off the top of my head, but it's something that I actually was overheard a conversation. Someone in human resources when I was at the office the other day mentioned it. So there's definitely a version of that here in Ghana. I don't know if there's one in Sierra Leone. And I won't even speculate there because it's hard to know with Sierra Leone. Some of these things are there, but they're not always enforced, or people don't always use them or don't know about them. So there may be, but I'm not really sure. Okay, now let's get into the content. So a couple things. There's a bunch of stuff on Instagram. So here we go. American expat here in Curacao with plans to move to Ghana. May I ask how you found your apartment home? Did you go through an agent? Thank you. I didn't go through an agent. It was a friend of mine. You can go through an agent. You do have to pay usually a year up front for the rent, and you also have to pay 10% of that year up front to your agent. And the agent, when they take you around, you usually have to give them money to take you around to look at apartments, unless you know somebody here and you have some friends who are in the space who can help you out with that. But in general, that's kind of the way it works. I was lucky enough to have a friend here, someone who I actually applied for a job on her team last year. She helped me out. Mr. Bounce Los Angeles says we could still do it again with Ivy on another live stream with additional info. We absolutely can. So Ivy is So just so you guys know who Ivy is, she works for the Ghana Tourism Board, or Ghana Tourism Authority is what it's called now. And she does the social media and so much more. But her role is really based on social media for the year of return and beyond the return. So there's two different pages for both of those events and activities, and she oversees the social media for all of those, and then so much more. She does press releases and she writes for like ministers and all kinds of stuff. But as it pertains to that, she does that. And so I wanted to have her on here to speak to the citizenship element because she knows about it from two different angles, right? One as a Ghanaian who lived in Canada and is back here now, and also as someone who works in an official capacity. And so I did want to have her on. But in any case, I was listening to the live stream yesterday and I can share some thoughts with you all. So number one, let me just get right into the content. Okay, let me just actually look. Let me go through some of these questions and comments because there's some stuff based on previous things that I said that are coming up. So let me just go into those really quickly before I get into the content. Only one says, personally, I feel your friend should pay you back since you sent the money on her behalf. I hear what you're saying. The challenge is it wouldn't hurt my business as much as it and me as much as it would hurt her. And so I am fine with taking the loss on her behalf because I happen to have income coming in from multiple streams, and this is her sole source of income, right? And she's a small business owner in Sierra Leone, and so lesson learned for both of us. But I actually am going to take that, and I'm not going to require her to pay me back. Originally, she was going to pay me back, but I've decided that I'm not going to ask her to pay me back. It's fine. Pac Bert says, can you acquire a citizen because you already have Sierra Leone and America? Can you have Ghana as well? Yeah, so from what I understand, you cannot. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understand, I may have to give up one of the others in order to get this one here. I know for sure if you are a Nigerian an American dual citizen. And if you want to get Ghanaian citizenship, you do have to give up one of the other two. And so I presume it's the same with any other. And I only know that because I literally had this conversation last week with a friend of mine who is contemplating giving up her Nigerian citizenship and going with the Ghanaian citizenship as well instead, because she just bought a condo here and she also bought land, and so she's planning to potentially get Ghanaian citizenship. Oh, and then only one says she understands why I'm gonna not ask her to pay me back. The friend who I made the purchase on behalf of. Okay, so another thing when it pertains to citizenship, you know how in the U.S. you have citizenship through marriage, right? You guys have all heard about this, right? There's so many schemes, and there's a TV show called 90 Day Fiance where and it's inevitable that almost every family of the American, right, believes that the person from the other country is just marrying them to get their citizenship in America, right? So that is something that you can do here in Ghana if you are married to a Ghanaian citizen. You still have to apply for it, but you can get your citizenship. Also, to get your citizenship, you have to be here at least 5 years, but from what I understand, it's 10 years. Under the current law, you have to be here at least 10 years to be able to apply and gain citizenship here in Ghana. Now, you can become a resident, but you cannot become a citizen. So I have a resident permit. So the interesting thing about my citizenship status and my residency status is as follows. I am a dual citizen with the United States and Sierra Leone, and I am a resident in Ghana. So you can get a residency. It is different from a citizenship. I don't know the exact differences, but I do know they are different. So that is something that you can do, though. If anything, if you want to at least get your citizenship, you can do that as well. Sorry, you see me playing with my hair. I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, it looks like uneven, so I'm messing with it. Anyway, so that's a piece of information I thought was interesting that came out of last night's live stream. Somebody was in Chicago and she was married to a Ghanaian, and she was asking that question, and the director of diaspora affairs did make it be known. Now, there was a couple other things that came out of last night's live stream and discussion. So there was a Homeland Return Act that was passed as law. Well, as far as I understand, it was passed. As the act was passed and brought to the parliament, I think they need to agree on the details of the act in terms of how long you have to be here to become a citizen. But there were some things that were decided as part of the act. One is that you no longer have to go through there was like a whole separate process of becoming an actual citizen, separate from getting your passport. Now the application for the passport covers you as a citizen. So that was one of the distinctions that I thought was interesting, because I wasn't aware of the other element, but that was one. And so you also have to go through an application process. So you don't automatically become a citizen. You do have to apply, and they have a background check that they do. If you have unsavory things in your past, I think that was the way he described it, you may not get citizenship. There were a couple people who were on a list who were supposed to get citizenship from a group of like 250 back for the year of return. 126 actually got citizenship. A few others got stalled because of the pandemic, and 3 for sure, if I understand, were declined citizenship because of unsavory past, is the way he described it. I don't know what that means, and I don't know if there's really much clarity on that, but that was what he described it as. So as of right now, the process still remains the way it was. But the good news is the president is working the fast track, and the president here in Ghana is working the fast track this new the Homeland Return Act, to make it into law and to make sure that we can streamline the process of becoming citizens. But one of the things that came up, which was really interesting, and there are a lot of people who have this belief system, is if you are of the Jewish faith, you actually can become a citizen of Israel as you're making your pilgrimage to Israel, right? When you're doing your birthright, right? And what they mention is like, why don't we do that as a continent? And that's a really good question. It was a good point. There are other cultures and religions and cultures. Sometimes they are the same, in countries, or can all be one and the same, that do that. And so why don't we do that? And certain countries allow for that. So Sierra Leone, if you can trace your DNA back to Sierra Leone and you go to Sierra Leone, you can apply and get your citizenship. So that is something that can happen. And in Ghana, it's a little bit different. It doesn't necessarily matter if you have DNA from Ghana. That's not necessarily going to like fast track you. That did come up yesterday. Somebody mentioned that because they had heard about what Sierra Leone is doing. And then, they mentioned that they had gone out, done their African ancestry, found out that they were descendants of Ghanaian people. And the director of diaspora affairs said that doesn't actually play into your application of becoming a citizen. So unfortunately, that doesn't help. And so it's good to know, but it's not going to help you get your citizenship. Okay. So here we go. Some other stuff. So while A says only a few countries accept 3 citizenships, most accept dual citizenship. Some, such as Germany and Tanzania, or Tanzania, depending on who you are and how you pronounce it, don't accept any. There you go. 90 Day Fiance is lit. It is. It's been a while since I've caught up, but I'm a highbrow, lowbrow kind of person. I have a full spectrum of content that I consume. And so I watch a documentary about startups, about the continent of Africa, but I'll also watch reality TV like 90 Day Fiance. I don't watch everything in reality TV. There are certain things that I don't watch, but I'm fascinated by some of the stories in 90 Day Fiance. So I do watch that, and I'm following some of those stories along. But yeah, so I'm with you on that. It is lit. I'm guessing this is a 90 Day Fiance reference since he's laughing. Movie guy's laughing. Okay, Jackson asked, or says, it is not clear to me the benefit and difference that come with a resident status there versus a citizenship other than voting. Yeah, I mean, as far as I understand, that's one of the major differences. But voting is important, right? I mean, some people would disagree with me on that, but I believe that your voice matters and voting is important. And if you're going to live in a country, you're going to want to be involved in some of the political decisions, because there are certain things that politicians do, whether you're an independent person and you have your own business, and there are things that affect you as a business owner, or if you're an employee, there are things that affect you as it pertains to taxes and how businesses are, what the requirements for a business are. There are so like housing, all kinds of different things that could potentially affect you from a political standpoint. And so being able to vote, I do think, is important. So if you don't have that capability, that is something you are missing out on. So yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. But I don't know if there are any other things that can come up that are differences between being a citizen and being a resident. But I do think voting is really important. So that is a big difference for me. Tabasco says, get the likes up. Sure, we'll try our best. You guys help me out with that, man. Pass this on to your friends and family, everybody you know. Pac Bert says, is good Ghana, okay. Is good Ghana, is Ghana, okay, I'm gonna say, is Ghana, okay. It's good. Ghana is welcoming our brothers and sisters. And okay, it's good steps we have. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what he's saying is we've been brainwashed by Babylon for so long. I guess that's like a reference to the West and how being westernized, for sure. I think it is good that Ghana is accepting and welcoming the diasporans back in. Let's get back to Instagram Live. There's always some questions and comments in here that I'm missing, so forgive me, guys. I got to work to have a moderator. By the way, if anybody who follows it and gets on these lives every week wants to help me moderate, I need help moderating the live. So especially the Instagram live. So if there's anybody on, you don't have to say it now. You can message me at contact@authenticafrican.com and let me know if you want to help and moderate these. But I am in need of some help because I'm streaming on 2 platforms, and I always feel like I miss a question or two on Instagram. And you just got to kind of scroll through it. And since most of my energy and focus is on the YouTube channel, but I wanted to make sure I'm also addressing the audience on Instagram, sometimes I miss it. So if you guys are interested in volunteering to help me moderate these lives, definitely let me know, and I will bring you on to help moderate. Okay. Let's see what we got. So a couple people joining on Instagram. Cali Cal says he actually wants to relocate to Nigeria. For sure, I would say visit first. Um, I have a friend, that same friend who ended up being scammed, is in Nigeria right now, and she is learning the hard way that Nigeria can be a little expensive. You know, money can be leaving your pocket pretty quickly. We've been having a conversation about it, and it can happen. So just make sure you go first. I would recommend it. Spend a couple weeks there, get a lay of the land, know where you want to live. I hear Victoria Island is probably the best place to live for most people who are from the diaspora. But yeah, if you're planning to move, for sure, I would say visit first. But the only thing, you have a lot of born Africans coming over here to America thinking it's better, but it's actually worse. Yeah, I had this conversation with some people. For some people, it is better, right? I mean, if you have a skill set and you are offering value to society, regardless of whether or not you can offer that here on the continent or in the U.S., you could potentially have an upgrade or lifestyle upgrade. Now, you are always going to be a second class citizen because it's not your country. And so, people will remind you of that frequently. And so that would be one thing I would say. But, I do find that some people do have some successes there, and they are comfortably living there. But the large majority of people who move there end up coming back to West Africa or Africa in their retirement. And that's the thing. So people go there to try to make some money, come back here in their retirement years. So Mr. Bounce Los Angeles asked the national implications for the year of return. So what I understand is they made $1.3 billion in revenue as a country. So that is an implication. It's a positive effect, but that was one thing. However, not too many local businesses got a chance to get a lot of that revenue because most people were going to a lot of the hotels and bars and clubs and restaurants that were owned by non-Ghanaians. So unfortunately, not too many Ghanaians benefited a ton unless you were like an Uber driver or something like that. Maybe you had an Airbnb. You might have lucked out and were able to get some benefit from it. But from what I understand, there weren't a lot of Ghanaians that benefited directly. And what it also did was gave more people the idea to move here. And so with that, you do have a little bit of gentrification happening. And so that's unfortunate because you do have some Ghanaians who, from what I understand, are slowly but surely being displaced and moved to outer regions because it's becoming more and more expensive to live here in Accra because people with higher income are moving to Accra. And so that's driving property value up. And so, as with like Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, or even the Lower East Side in Manhattan, right? Like San Francisco. These are all places that were affordable at one point and have now become unaffordable due to gentrification. And so, so that could be some of the potential negative impacts of the year of return. So you got to kind of weigh it out. I don't, overall, I think the country has had an overall a resurgence in terms of being in the minds of the diasporans. But then there are some negatives that go along with it. So I think you have to just kind of weigh the good and the bad. Great question. Let's see. Shout out to everybody still joining the Instagram live. Thanks for stopping by. So Mr. Bounce Los Angeles, his unsavory is likely a criminal past or illegal history. Yeah, so that was with not people not being awarded citizenship. Sure, I predicted it was that, but he wasn't very clear. So Cali Cow says we as Africans need to get rid of the westernization and Western waste. We need to get back to our African ways. That's a problem. Most of us have lost our way as a people. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that it does require some education of our where we come from and who are and more of our history, all of that. So for sure, I mean, channels like mine and my Instagram page, that's what I'm looking to do, is to try to help educate and bring more information to our people. And then also my YouTube channel, just to explain what it's like to move here so that other people can see it's not such a foreign or crazy idea. All right, let's get back to some of the questions and comments on YouTube. All right, so is the repack community growing in Ghana? Are you seeing a difference since you've been there? Yes, it is growing, and I I can't say too much of seeing a difference because I've only been here 9 months. That would have been a great question for Ivy because I think she moved here in 2013, and so that would be for sure. She could tell you that there's a big difference between when she first moved and what it's like now. Unfortunately, she's having technical difficulties, so she's not going to be able to join today. And so we'll have to try to get her on next Monday. Actually, next Monday I have another group on. So we'll have to try to get her on at another time, or we'll just do like a pop-up live and just do it then. But I do know the expat community is growing just because more and more people are finding out about Ghana and they're ready to leave the U.S. or wherever else they are in the world. And so yeah, they are moving here. Pac Burt says, let's keep the channel moving because you're doing massive. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Joe Self says, America is also 122 safest country in the world, and Ghana is number 38. There you go. I mean, I guess that's referring to whether it's better to live in the U.S. or here on the continent, and especially in Ghana, where the crime rate is lower than it is in the United States. Much lower, as you can see. The house prices in Accra are inaccessible to most from the diaspora, let alone local people. More needs to be done on decentralization. Yeah, that's true. Meaning like, everything is happening in one area, so everybody has to come to one area. So that means that you're gonna have to travel from far away if you can't afford it. It can be a little expensive based on the income being made. I know a lot of people tend to move to the continent without having a full-time job, and so they move here on savings, and it is hard to sustain a living that can be close to U.S. prices. But for me, I am living below my means, and so it's allowed me to be able to live pretty comfortably here. But I'm also hustling hardcore, more than I ever have with like consulting gigs and other things that I'm using to generate additional income. So for sure, I get it for sure. Okay. So Joseph asked if I've been to Prom Prom. I've heard a lot of diaspora live there. I haven't been yet, but I also have heard the same. Okay, Jack Jackson says, I'm looking to retire soon. Therefore, I'm looking to chill for a while and maybe mentor or life coach. I haven't seen many YouTubers covering whether the continent is a good fit for retiring. Yeah, so that's a good point. I mean, because most of the content creators are people who are like millennials, maybe some Generation Xers, but mostly millennials and Gen Z. And so they're only speaking to their experience. Um, so yeah, the retirement. So I mean, that even could be something you could do, Jack, if you wanted to share your experience as a retiree. Because I don't see a lot of content on that, and people only make content based on what their subscribers and followers are responding to, and so. But that might be a lane that you can carve if you're interested to do that, because I think you might be able to help other people make that decision. I haven't seen any pages on anyone who has retired and moved, so I definitely think that that's something that you can offer. There's plenty of people my age doing exactly what I'm doing. And so, you could potentially carve out a whole new niche, which I think could be interesting. Okay, African Excellence Movement. I think this might be the first time you've ever commented on a video. So shout out to you. And shout out to Joseph. I think it was your first time commenting on videos too. There is a drug epidemic in the US in many of the major cities, and homelessness is crazy. It is. I lived in downtown Los Angeles. And I will tell you this. So I lived in a luxury building. It was a building that Wiz Khalifa had lived in for a period in time. There was this group of influencers who might or might not have been. Anyway, they lived in that building. I would say they're social media influencers. We'll leave it that way. And it was a luxury building. And I remember one night around was it at night or during the day? No, it was during the day. It was on my way to work. I was running a bit late, so I was leaving the house around 9:30, and there was a guy actually shooting up heroin right across the street from this luxury building, right? So you're paying all this money for this luxury building, and you see that dichotomy between this luxury building and this guy who unfortunately is sick, right? And is an addict and shooting up in broad daylight right in front of the building. And that is downtown Los Angeles for you. And San Francisco is very much like that too. And so, you really do have a lot of that in the US. And as for a country like the US, that just should not be the case, but it is. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the things about living in the US is that you just kind of have to get used to um, seeing people and that are homeless, and it's unfortunate, especially, I think some people don't like it because they don't like the way it messes up their city. For me, I see it a little bit differently. I see it more like it's a lost opportunity for the United States to help someone who's either mentally ill, who is likely also potentially someone who is dealing with addiction, or someone who is just falling on hard times and just can't afford an apartment at that point in time. And so, I think that that's a really big challenge in the US, and it's unfortunate. And I actually knew someone who was homeless because her house burned in the California fires, one of the California fires 2 years ago. And her and her 14-year-old daughter were living on the street. And it's unfortunate. It's like, it's really crazy to hear. And I didn't even know it until much later, until she actually had gotten a new apartment. Then she finally told me that she had been homeless, and it was really hard to hear. So yes, that is a thing in the U.S. Ms. P says, I agree. The drug epidemic is out of control in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's so sad. Yes, I have been in Atlantic City and I have seen it. It is really bad. It's also bad in Vegas. It's bad in most major cities in the U.S. Lots of good comments. Cali Cow says, how is it better when this land is not even controlled by us and is controlled by European? Okay. I'm not gonna say everything you said. No, listen. What I'm saying is it can be better for someone financially, and they might see it as better for themselves because they are living a life that is for them more desirable for them. Put it that way. I get everything you're saying, Cali Calv, about that land not being their land, and also it's, you're seen as second class citizens, all of those kinds of things. Don't get me wrong. I understand. I agree. But some people would disagree with that. They feel like they're happy there and happier there than here. But it is a smaller minority. Most people prefer being back home. Okay. Okay, let's see. What neighborhoods are you enjoying most in Ghana? Great question. So me, I'm enjoying Osu, East Legon, and Laboni. Those are the neighborhoods I enjoy the most. Those are the places I like to go, and the restaurants I like to frequent are in those places. Oh, Bed-Stuy. That's Final Production. These names on Instagram, man, you guys get me with these names. Final Production says definitely best. I think we're talking about gentrification. Calicow says, what, Ghanaians are not benefiting from their own land? Sometimes they're not. No, not everyone is, right? I think it's one of those things where the majority of the big businesses that are frequented by diasporans are actually built by expats and people who are not of African descent. All right. Candid Jules says, hey, I sent you an email, just an FYI. I am supposed to be checking my email once a week, and I did not get to it this weekend. So, Candid, I will check it out. I think you, or okay. Well, anyway, Candid, thank you very much. I will check it out. Da, 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 Cali Cal, safest country in the world, what is controlled by the same people work. No, I don't think anyone said the US is the safest country in the world. It's 122nd safest. So it's actually not even close to the safest. Let's see. Wow. A lot of people joined and then jumped off of the Instagram. Okay, cool. Thanks for joining. Okay, so there's some more people with comments on YouTube. Let's see. iTuber 12. Do we know the actual specifics of the hot proposed legislation to streamline the citizenship process? Great question. No, we don't know the specifics. That came up yesterday. What they said was, and so we're back to the comment and the topic at hand. Jose Cruz is on, and he did ask what we're talking about. We're talking about dual citizenship here in Ghana, and then everything else. There was a ton of questions across the spectrum, but back to the topic at hand, which iTuber 12 asked. The director of diaspora affairs said a couple of things are different than what was previously done. One is they're trying to fast track the process of becoming a citizen. So that's number one, meaning that the original 5 and or 10 years it takes to become a citizen is going to be reduced. By how much and to what has not been determined yet. The parliament still has to figure that out and determine that. So that's still up for debate, apparently, as we speak. He also did mention that you can get citizenship just by getting your passport, whereas previously you had to do two separate things. You got your passport, that was one thing, but that was separate from your citizenship. So now that is combined into one. So those were the two definite details that were presented yesterday. The president is also trying to fast track the legislation to make sure it happens sooner than later. And but that is basically all the news that we got so far yesterday on this Homeland Return Act that is in process. I wish we had more. I mean, I decided on what we were going to talk about today, expecting that I was going to get a lot more information last night. But I did get some details and some information. And we're going to do another live with more details with Ivy Prosper when on another date as well, because I want to make sure that I answer all the questions, and also the questions I may not have and the details that she can offer. I want to give her the platform and the opportunity to do so for this audience, because so many people ask questions about citizenship. Okay. Yeah, Cali Cow says we need to focus more on Pan-Africanism. Just summing it up, I agree with you. I don't disagree with that at all. We definitely do. Okay. So I answered Jose Cruz's question, right? Let me know if I answered your question or if you still have another one. Tabasco says Philadelphia, Portland, and Seattle is terrible. The government doesn't care. I think we're talking about homelessness. Yeah, it's pretty bad in many cities, and those three I hear is pretty bad. I've been to Portland, but only to a Blazers game to watch Dame Lillard drop like 40 points. So that was cool. But I have actually, and I've been to Philly a few times, and I've been to Seattle. I actually co-own a property not too far outside of Seattle. So, but I have seen the homeless issue in Seattle and in Philadelphia, and it is pretty bad. So I asked about the Return Act legislation. We talked about that. Jack Jackson said, I don't see the super chat. Oh, Jack. Yes. So this past weekend, I have a tab open right now to walk me through how to set up super chat, and I didn't do it this past weekend. It was my assignment to do it before this live, and I did not do it before the live. So now it's my assignment again for next week to have super chat set up before the live. I really appreciate that you guys want to actually do super chats and support the channel. So I really appreciate that. And that's just a way to financially support the channel, which I really do appreciate. And I am going to give other ways that you guys can support as well coming in the coming months. Right now, I'm a one-man show, and so as you guys can imagine, it does take a lot to put all of this stuff together and to stay consistent. And so it is going to be something that's going to take a little longer than I would like to get some of these things done, but nonetheless, they will happen. For sure, they will happen. And the channel's growing faster than I expected. So there's a lot of comments and things that I'm working on behind the scenes to make sure that you guys get the best possible product that you can get. So with that, let's move on to African Excellence Movement. Ghana is a very beautiful country. It was everything: beaches, national parks, waterfalls, mountains, etc. Yes, I love Ghana. It is a very beautiful country. Jose Cruz says, would you change from Sierra Leone citizenship to Ghana? No, sir, I would not. That's a good question, but I would not. I would not do that. I mean, I love Ghana. Don't get me wrong, and I've said that before. But Sierra Leone is my home and my country, right? Like, although I'm very Americanized, as you can hear in my accent, the way I talk, I am culturally Sierra Leonean. That's my country. That's where my family comes from. Both my parents were born and raised there. And I have such an affinity for Sierra Leone. When I was so proud to have gotten my dual citizenship and to become a citizen there and to be able to vote there. And so my goal really with being in Ghana and potentially even as I travel to other places is to take what I learn and see what some of these other countries have done to advance and apply that back in Sierra Leone. But Sierra Leone will always be a second home to me, or a first home, really, because I'm working on building a house right now. And when I feel most at home is when I'm in Sierra Leone. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, I would not be changing that citizenship. And I also would not be removing my U.S. citizenship. As much as I talk about loving being on the continent, and I do plan to live here. I don't plan to live in the U.S. There are benefits to having U.S. citizenship, and that's a conversation for a whole nother time. But for sure, I'm going to definitely keep my Sierra Leone citizenship. For sure, I don't plan on giving that up at all. It would be good to see more of the tech side of Ghana in your vlogs. Not many vloggers concentrate on tech. So Tabasco, great you mentioned that because that is something that is on the list of things to do. I'm starting to interview people about that now. So there will be more to come on that. I absolutely will be interviewing tech folks. There's actually a guy who is into virtual reality. We're trying to schedule an interview for Sunday. He has a virtual reality company, and he can take the blueprint of your house and make a 3D virtual reality tour, and it feels like a real house. He can do it for apartment buildings. It's really, really dope. Really, really talented people here. And so those are the kinds of people I want to interview and share their talent with folks in the diaspora, as for sure. Okay, but yeah, that's coming. Keeping Sierra Leone citizenship, but why can he not have 3 citizenships? I'm not aware of that being prohibited. I know for sure that the USA does not limit how many passports you get. Yes, so certain countries, and somebody mentioned this earlier actually, certain countries don't allow you to have more than 2 citizenships, so you have to give one up. So my friend is a Nigerian and Sierra Leone citizen. She, in order to become a Ghanaian citizen, she had to give up one of the other citizenships, and so she is contemplating whether or not to give up her Nigerian citizenship, and I think she's about like 80% sure she's going to. Tabasco says, "Wow, look forward to that." Oh yes, the interview with the startups for sure. Plenty of those to come for sure. And there's also talk about doing podcasts and all kinds of other stuff. Like I said, more to come. There's going to be so much more content that I'm going to be sharing with you guys, and I can't wait to start having that content become available to you guys. We're still working out the details and all of that, so I don't want to give too much on that because until you record anything, it's not tangible and it's not real. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to make a promise that something's happening on this live and then it doesn't actually come to fruition. But right now, I'm in talks with some folks to do a podcast. And so we're looking at doing that. And at the very least, I'll be interviewing startups. That's for sure, because that's fully under my control. So we'll be doing that for sure. Jack Jackson says Mother SL, which is Sierra Leone. My mother's DNA is Mende of Sierra Leone. Therefore, that is where I'll be investing time and resources as well, as you should. And shout out to your mother being Mende. My father's father is Mende. Most of us come from Bo, the Mende tribe. And my great-great-grandfather was the first chief of Bo when chieftaincies became a thing after British colonization. And so yeah, fun fact about my family history. All right, cool. Where are we at now? So we're just under an hour. We're almost at 10 o'clock. Let me scroll through some more questions and see if there are any more questions or comments on Instagram. Let's see. It looks like I caught up on everyone's questions and comments on Instagram. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on anything we talked about today? Sorry we weren't able to get Ivy on. I know that I promoted this as Ivy would be joining, and unfortunately, she was having some technical difficulties. So for those of you who joined late, she was having some technical difficulties and wasn't able to join. So we're going to see if we can do something at another time, or maybe we'll just record an interview where she talks about it, and then I can just put that up on my channel, and you guys can just watch that instead of having to deal with potential technical difficulties. I will be having special guests next week. You know what? Let's talk about what's coming. I think I should use this time to talk about what's coming on the channel. So, two different two-part videos on the slave castle on Bunce Island in Sierra Leone. So if you guys are all interested in Sierra Leone history and want to know anything about that, I have a 2-part series on that that's coming. Part 1 will probably be out tomorrow morning. Part 2 will likely be out on Sunday, depending on when it's finished being edited. I'm also putting out a video on Wednesday describing what my last week has been like. That's my weekly vlog, and we're on week 36, if I'm not mistaken. And so, with that, we'll talk about the interviews I did with Ivy Prosper, with Sam from Ghana Bound, and with Abena and Michael from Destination Africa. And so we'll talk a lot about that. A restaurant I went to too. And I may have some other updates too. Oh, I have some housing updates. I'll save that for the house in Sierra Leone. I'll save that for the video that'll be out Wednesday. And so so those are the videos that are coming out this week. So it'll likely be 4 videos this week. So again, it's today's live, which is Monday. We'll have a Slave Castle tour, part 1 of that tomorrow, Bunce Island in Sierra Leone. So I'll be putting that up. Wednesday will be my vlog from what happened the last week, week 36. And then Saturday will be the part 2 of the Slave Castle video. And if it's not that, then it will be part 1 of the process I went through for building my house in Sierra Leone. That may or may not be what comes up next. All right. Some more comments have been coming in. African Excellence Movement. SL is beautiful, but the Lebanese have it on lock. Yes, Sierra Leone is beautiful, probably one of the most beautiful countries in the world, actually, just in terms of the number of beaches and the unobstructed and untouched land and just like the mountains, everything. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. However, yes, you're right. There are a large number of Lebanese who have left Lebanon because of the civil war and have moved to all over West Africa and all over the world, actually, which is understandable for sure. And they've thrived in Sierra Leone and parts of West Africa. So grocery stores, restaurants, a lot of them are owned by Lebanese. And so that's why we need to do a better job of making sure that we also start the process of owning our own businesses as well. We want to make sure that we have our ownership, of our own countries. You know what I mean? So for sure. Joe Self says you should visit Rwanda. It's a really impressive country. I've heard really, really great things. I was ignorant until about a year ago. We're thinking, it was, only saw Hotel Rwanda, Don Cheadle. By the way, I became a fan of Don Cheadle from that movie. And I was only aware of that. And so I thought that was the, what Ghana was. What Rwanda was. But that's not what Rwanda is. And so I've heard good things since. And so I definitely need to go. Really enjoyed this. I think there's something missing there, YOA, but thanks for stopping by. Okay, African lens. Wait. Africa Lenisi. I think it's Africa Lenisi. How is the investigation coming along on the company that scammed you? Yeah, I did talk about this a little bit before. I have not gone to the police station yet. I'll have to do that this coming weekend. I had like 6 interviews this last week, and so I didn't have the ability to do it. So I am still working on it. Now, guys, we were able to get Ivy. Ivy's here, so I'm gonna add her to the stream. Hey, Ivy. Thanks for joining.
Hi. Hi there.
Technical difficulties.
Yes, I'm
But
so
it looks like you're
sorry.
solved now. Yeah, no worries. I can hear
Yeah,
you loud and clear. You're coming through clearly.
fantastic. Fantastic. I'm really sorry.
No worries, no worries. So there were a couple questions about citizens. Well, let me first let's take a step back and introduce you to everyone. First of all,
Okay.
so I tried to do my best to do an introduction, but maybe I should turn it over to you to introduce yourself. You can
Oh,
probably do it
really?
better than I can. Yeah, I only talked about what you've done for the Ghana Tourism Authority, but you are so much more than that. So, do you want to give like your full like background so people know who you are and so they know why you're an authority on these things, and also what else you do?
I am I don't know if you said this, but I do. I'm the social media manager at for Year of Return, Beyond the Return at Ghana Tourism Authority, and I have experience as a producer, documentary producer, as well as television host, public speaker. I published also published author. I wrote the book Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana, and yeah, so I have TV experience, some film experience, and now doing the social media, and then with yeah, with gun tourism, with doing the Beyond the Return and Year of Return, it's kept me quite busy over the last couple of years with a lot of things that we've been doing, and continuing engaging with the diaspora has been really important for me as well, because talking about things and coming to Ghana and things that you do when you get to Ghana, those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
my background is I was born in Ghana, but I was raised in Canada. So I have a little bit of family ties to the country. But when I moved here, I was also learning just as much as anybody who has no ties to the country, because I lived most of my life living in Canada. I did live in the U.S. for a short period of time, and so I have a bit of understanding of living in those two countries. And then Ghana was a whole new experience over the last few years. Yeah.
And on that note, right? So how long have you been back in Ghana?
Um, so I was living in Ghana 2011, 12, and 13. And then I went back to Canada, and then I came back in 2016. So I've been here now since 2016.
Got it. Nice. Okay, so one question did come up, and they asked, "How has it changed with expats since you got there?" I said, "I've only been here 9 months." That's probably a better question for Ivy, since she was here way back in 2011 and also has been here since 2016. Have you seen a difference in the growth in the number of expats here in Ghana since moving here?
Um, Definitely, there's more people. I think the thing now is that people are actually letting themselves be known. There was a
Mm,
tendency before that people would come and they would go somewhere, and you might not necessarily be aware, but there's so many people now creating content about being in Ghana or being in other parts of Africa, that now it's like becoming more aware that these communities are in existence. And I think also because there's more people who are younger who are doing it, because before a lot of people would come, like retirement group, um, people who come who are already finished with whatever they were doing with their life in other countries, and then decide to come in and settle and retire. But now you're seeing more people who are in the prime of their lives, and they didn't have to come, and they're making the choice to come. So yeah, I'm definitely seeing that there's more people from the diaspora communities who are younger making the journey. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes. Okay, so one more thing that I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Don't know if you know the answer to this, but it came up, and I wasn't really clear on this. The difference between being a resident and a citizen. The one thing was voting. Do you know if there are other differences between being a resident and a citizen here in Ghana?
Yeah, there's going to be things that are going to make a difference. Like with any country, when you're a citizen, you have easier things that you can do. So, for instance, if you are a citizen of Ghana and you want to start a business, the cost of money that you need to start a business is going to be a lot less than somebody who's not uh, a citizen. So, for example, for most businesses, a foreigner needs between 250,000 up to, I think, 500,000. Um, it used to be $1 million, but I think they dropped it now to $500,000 that you need as a foreigner to start a business in Ghana. Um, Now, if you're not a foreigner and you're a Ghanaian citizen and you want to start a business, you could be paying as little as like 200 cities to start your
Mm.
business. The registration fees and stuff. They're not asking you to have all kinds of capital before you can start your business as a Ghanaian citizen.
The
Um,
200 cities is like $30, by the way. So the difference is like
It's
night.
massive. It's massive. So so yeah, so those so that's another example. You know, there are some things like getting certain accounts at the bank. Also, if you're not a citizen, it may be more difficult to be able to get those kinds of accounts. So there are specific things that are easier if you're an actual citizen than when you're not, and it's like that in any country.
Right.
I find that there's a lot of Americans who ask about things that they want to do in Canada, I mean in Ghana, and they may get upset when they find out that if you're not a citizen that they can't get ABC, whatever it is. And then people will say to them, well, when, like, I've heard these discussions happen, then when an African says, well, when I came to the States and I wasn't a citizen, I couldn't do, you know, those kinds of things either. So it goes
Right.
both ways. So so yeah, a lot of people want to become citizens because they want the rights to do certain things easier, and then the lesser cost of doing some things as well.
Nice. Okay, so that answers that question far better than I could have, right? So that was one. Another thing that I tried to sum up what I got from this the Homeland Return Act, and basically what I understood to be the case. And let me know if I'm missing anything. I'm sure I'm missing some things because I was in and out of the call, but what I understood is that the original timeline to get citizenship was like you had to be here 10 years. They're trying to reduce it. We don't know how much they're going to reduce it by and how little it's going to be, but it's going to be reduced. And then the other thing that I understood was your citizenship and your passport were two different things. Now it's kind of combined. You get your passport, which makes you a citizen. Is there any? Well, first of all, did I get that right? And is there anything that I'm missing beyond that? That like is the update on this thing?
So I saw, yeah, so on the live stream yesterday, for those who, you know, may have been on it or may have missed it, I know that some people may have found it a little bit confusing because there were times when there were questions asked or there were things that were said that might be a little bit confusing for some people. So for instance, when he was talking about the dual citizenship card, so there
Mm,
was a time when, let's say, someone like me who was born in Ghana, but I was raised outside of Ghana like 90% of my life, I could easily become a citizen because of the fact that I was born in the country. But because I was living outside of the country and became a Canadian citizen, I would have to apply for this citizenship card that was to get to show you were a dual citizen. So that card would show that you're I was Ghanaian, and it would also show that I was Canadian at the same time on one card. And then you would have to show that card as your ID in Ghana to show that you're a dual citizen. So Ghana had that, and and then even people who became naturalized citizens, like if someone married someone, became Ghanaian, that kind of thing, people would get these dual citizenship cards.
mm,
Now they've made it that you do not have to have that dual citizenship card. It's an added expense that what was unnecessary, wasn't needed. So if you get um, a Ghanaian passport, and in your passport it says you're a Ghanaian citizen, then you're not going to have to go and pay extra money to go buy a citizenship card to prove you have citizenship in two different countries. You just have to carry your Ghana passport and then your other country passport if it's a country that accepts dual citizenship. Because some countries do not accept dual citizenship. So whenever people ask me if they can become a dual citizen in Ghana, I always tell them check if your own country accepts dual citizenship, because not all countries will recognize your dual status in another country. For instance, if you're from Japan, you cannot have dual citizenship after the age of 21. That is why Naomi Osaka had to choose if she was going to keep her American citizenship or she was going to keep her Japanese. When she turned 21, she had to make that choice, and she chose the Japanese citizenship, relinquished her American citizenship. So
mm.
some countries will not let you keep both. The US will allow you to keep both, but they don't publicly acknowledge it, but they'll let you keep it. Because I know lots of people who are dual citizens of the US and other countries, but the US doesn't necessarily announce and acknowledge it, but they won't deny it if you take citizenship in another country.
Right.
So, so yeah, so the card he was talking about is that card that is no longer necessary. So if you are, they said that there was a news report, and this isn't something that the director said on the live stream, but there was a report that came out that was actually saying that there were some people who work at some of these embassies and consulates of Ghana in various places and were charging people for it still, and they didn't have to. So
Mm.
if someone's trying to charge you for it and you don't have to, because they actually passed a law that you don't have to get that card to prove dual status.
Got it. This is all very good information. This is why I wanted to have Ivy here. Every time I talk to Ivy, she updates me on something that I didn't know about. Okay, so one more thing, and then I want to jump into some of the questions that have been coming up or some of the comments, just so they don't go too long without being answered. There was one more question about citizenship, and now it's escaping me. Oh my goodness. So the question was, um, there was a question about, let me see how to put this. It was, can you have like citizenship in more than two countries, right? So they were asking me, why can I not get a Ghanaian citizenship because I have Sierra Leone and U.S. citizenship? So is that something I can or cannot do? As far as I understood you, I cannot. But who is restricting that, and what do you know about that?
The number of citizenships you have is all dependent on the countries that you're requesting citizenship in, if those
Okay.
countries will accept it or not. For example, me having Canadian citizenship, having Ghanaian citizenship, I could go and take a third one if I wanted to, because both of those two countries are not going to deny me having a third citizenship. But
I
there are
see.
countries who will not accept it. So you have to look at what are the two countries and what's the third one you're trying to add to the mix. I know somebody who has American, Nigerian, and is now working on. He said he was going to work on getting Ghanaians, but I haven't spoken to him to know if he was able to or not.
Okay. So I have a friend in that same exact position, and she said that she has to give up one of her other two
Okay,
citizenships to get the
okay,
Ghanaian
then that
citizenship.
could possibly be because of the American.
Mm,
It's possible the
mm.
American is not allowing more than one.
Pretty likely. Sounds like something that the United States would do. So okay. So that was another thing that came up.
So that's a possibility. Don't quote me on it, but that's a strong possibility. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think we're just gonna have to do our Googles. I'll update you. I'll look it up and let you guys know by the next live. But yeah, that's really helpful. Okay, so we have some questions, comments coming up. Let's see. What do we got? Okay, that was that. Cedric's asking, "What's up, Cedric? Thanks for coming by. Are you thinking about doing some content on how to raise a fund in the diaspora and on the continent through business angels, VCs, etc., to start or run business in Africa?" I am absolutely thinking about and working on content. I'm actually I plan to interview a couple people who are like with MEST, Founders Institute, Google for Startups. It's on the list of people to interview. Ivy and I were talking about this weekend. Like when you're like a one person show, it's so hard to get this stuff done, but it's on the list. It's coming. I would definitely be
Yeah.
doing that content. Ivy feels my pain, but she feels my pain with 15,000 subscribers. I'm only at 2,000, but yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to, you have all these ideas and things you want to shoot, but then all the stuff that still needs to be edited. And but yeah, for sure, this is the kind of content that I want to start moving towards, and so you'll start to see more content like that. I would say likely in the fall. I hate to push it that far out, but it is going to be some time before I get to it because I still have so much other content that still needs to be edited and posted. Um, but yes, that content is coming. Only one says traveling to Rwanda in 2 weeks. Nice. We had talked about, somebody had mentioned how beautiful Rwanda is and how nice it is, and I need to go. So That's response to that. Tabasco says hit the like button, guys. It's good stuff. Thanks, Tabasco. I really appreciate it. Jose says we need Sierra Leone Jollof video. Ooh, Ivy said something controversial about Jollof for that. The first time we did the live together. You guys can go back and watch that if you want. But I am going. I did technically do a Salon Jollof video. I did a mukbang in Sierra Leone with Mariama Forbes, who is a local content creator in Sierra Leone. She grew up in the UK, and she's in Sierra Leone right now. And we also had her friend Tracy, who's Indian, living in Sierra Leone. So that was an interesting perspective. We talked a little bit about jollof rice in that, but it wasn't all about jollof. But eventually, I will be doing a jollof like taste test. I'm working on figuring out the logistics of that because you don't get the best versions of other countries' jollofs when you're in someone else's country. So that's really challenging to do. And then you also have to find someone who is a mutual third party who doesn't have a dog in the fight or whatever you call it. You know what I mean? So that's also challenging. That's also on the list of things to do, but for sure it's coming. Um, we were talking about other nationalities owning companies in our respective countries, and so this is one of them. So like the Lebanese don't have citizens, like Bitcoin. Yeah, so I do think I don't want to make it like us versus them. I would just say we just need to do a better job of owning our own companies. I'll leave it at that. Um, all right. Hussein says, keep doing what you're doing. We love your program. Thanks for watching. We were talking so long. Oh, this wow, I remember it coming. This was about how much you have to have in the bank to start a business in Ghana as a resident or a non-Ghanaian citizen versus being a Ghanaian citizen. I was surprised by it. I was visibly shocked by that number. It's a pretty high number. I was not aware of that. In Sierra Leone, I actually don't even know what the difference is in Sierra Leone because I had my dual citizenship before I even got my business started
Right,
in Sierra
right.
Leone.
And
So I
the
don't
and
even
the
know.
two- and the 250,000, the low end, not even low, but the 250,000 minimum is if you've actually partnered with a Ghanaian citizen.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Without that partnership, it's the 500,000. But
Wow.
there are ways to get around that. So it's always good to get into contact with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center because they could actually even tell you that there are certain kinds of businesses that you can get into that you don't have to have that amount. So there are ways to get around it, and there are people who get into certain businesses so that they can get around having that amount of minimum money. So one of the things is if it's an exporting business, if you're exporting, then you don't have to have that minimum because you're coming in as a country that exists somewhere else. So let's say you come to Ghana and you want to export shea butter and you're not registering in Ghana as a Ghanaian business, but let's say you're from the US and you've come to Ghana, you've come as a US business that's coming to export it to your home country or another country. There's ways around it because you're exporting rather than having a physical bricks and mortar or physical manufacturing or something in the country. So you would get in touch with Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, Ghana Export Promotion Authority, to get information from them about becoming an exporting business in Ghana.
All very, very good insight and information. It's also now we're just hitting new records with the number of people on the live, by the way. Ivy, you just brought in a whole bunch of new people.
Oh, I'm so
Um,
sorry I was late. I had told him before, just a few minutes before, that my internet was really, really bad. It was just really bad. So I'm glad that I was able to finally get a stable connection and come on.
no
I
worries, no
swear, some
worries.
people have some people have great internet, and other areas are not always the best. And my area is one of those ones that doesn't always come out the best.
Yeah, I had the same issue, but it wasn't the area. Apparently, it was the provider, which I found out later. Vodafone was killing me over here, and then once I switched to
Mm,
MTN, it's night and day.
yeah.
But no worries at all. I mean, you can't control your internet connection, so we're just happy that we have you now because you just added so much value to this live. Just answered so many questions that people had, so this has been really great.
And then I
All right,
wanted to go back quickly before
yeah.
you had said about the Homeland Return Act, um, that it basically was streamlining the number of years for getting citizenship. So we don't know how fast it's going to be. We just know that it is an act that intends to make it faster for people in the Black diaspora community to get citizenship than those who are not part of that community. But people have to understand that even before that passes, a lot of people don't realize that since the year 2000, Ghana has had a law called the Right of Abode, which is basically for the Black diaspora community, saying that you have the right to live in the country. Now, so when you come and you come on a tourist visa and you keep extending your visa and you decide you want to stay, you have to get in touch with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and regional integration. They're the ones who can facilitate the process of citizenship, but you have to first get residency. But when you go through them, you talk about right of abode. And Mr. Ababio, who was on that live stream talking about the dual citizenship, is director of diaspora affairs. So a lot of people make contact with the diaspora affairs office to help them petition to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that they want to stay in Ghana under the right of abode. So once you're able to stay under the right of abode, then you think about the process of citizenship afterwards. But you have to be in the country. It is not something you can do when you are remotely out of the country. A lot of
Mm,
people contact our office and think they can be sitting somewhere in, in Texas or in California, and they can just apply for citizenship online when they're not even in Ghana. You have to be in the country to do any of these things. You can't do it remotely. The only people who could possibly do anything remotely are people who their parents are Ghanaian born people, um,
mm.
or their grandparents are Ghanaian born people, that they can do things through that process. But when you, unfortunately, for those who are the historical diaspora who were displaced by no fault of their own because of the transatlantic slave trade, unfortunately, those people cannot do the application process if you are not physically in the country.
All very, very good insights. Yeah, there was a lot there. So there was a question here that seems a little bit off topic now since we had
Okay.
just gotten into this, but this was from earlier, and the question was about how many Chinese-owned businesses do we see in the region. I can speak from a Sierra Leone standpoint. There are actually so a lot of the roads and there are four main toll booths that are on loan to Sierra Leone right now that are owned by the Chinese, either private companies or the Chinese government. And there are also casinos because if you guys know anything about Macau, which is in the region, I don't even know exactly where Macau is, but it's like 10 times the size of Vegas and does 10 times the amount of revenue. Um, the Chinese are a group of people that know casinos, and so there are a few casinos and a few places that you can gamble in Sierra Leone that are Chinese owned. So they do have a pretty strong presence there. I've heard that they have a big presence here in Ghana, but I actually don't see many Chinese nationals here. And maybe it's just where I frequent, but I haven't seen very many of them. But I mean, Ivy, maybe you probably obviously know more about this than me. But have you seen like Chinese folks here and their ownership of different companies here?
I mean, there's definitely a presence of Chinese in Ghana. I
Mm,
don't know the exact figure off the top of my head, but I know that they have a huge stake in some property development, in some of the roads, as you had mentioned with Sierra Leone. Same with Ghana. There's some roads and some projects that the Chinese have definitely put their money into.
okay.
Um, and then one of the things that actually upset me was there was an old fishing port, which was Ghana's oldest fishing port in Jamestown, which was recently completely torn down, and all of the people who were there working as fishermen, fisherwomen, selling, they've all been completely displaced because a Chinese company went there and cleared them all out, and they're building something there. Um,
Mm.
to me, that was a little bit upsetting because to me it was like a piece of history that's now been wiped out because they were the first fishing port in Ghana, and now they were just completely displaced. But yes, there's a huge Chinese presence in the country when it comes to business, when it comes to loans that China has given. But I have to also preface that with saying that China, China's everywhere. It's not just in Africa. I mean, they're talking a lot about Africa now because it's the new frontier where you're seeing Africa. A lot of people in the United States don't even realize that the United States owes China so much money. If China today said, US, please give us all the money back that we owe you, the US would be so screwed
Hmm.
without me
Bankrupt.
without me swearing. The U.S.
Hmm.
I recently read owes China $1.1 trillion
Yep.
as of 2021.
Yep.
$1.1 trillion the United States owes China from loans
Hmm.
they've taken from China. But they won't talk about that. They'll keep talking about China and Africa, and not talking about China and America. You
Right.
know, um, China has really done a huge thing to try to control the world, really, the world dominance on so many levels. And a lot of times people don't even realize it. So, unfortunately, yes, there's Chinese presence in Ghana and in other African countries now, too. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. So, and I think what happens is when you have countries that have suffered for a long time, maybe through politically, business wise, and maybe feel like their hands are tied, they just keep taking these loans from people and they keep feeling like it's going to help them to get out. Of
Yeah.
course, there are some leaders who have corrupt behaviors and corrupt thinking. I'm not judging who is and who isn't, but we know that they exist.
Sure.
And but I try to focus on trying to support some of the businesses that are being operated by, whether it's by Ghanaians or other Africans who've come to Ghana, or people of African descent, Black people who come and do things in Ghana as much as possible. So I try to have my stance on certain things, but I'm only one person, so I can only do one thing at a time. So when I can, I'll try to support as much as I can for some of the local business owners. And but yeah, a lot of people a lot of people have no idea how
Yeah.
um, how China is controlling the majority of the world. And I think that when the pandemic happened, that's when people really felt it, because it was like everyone in the world, when they were talking about the shortage of PPEs in the medical industry, the shortage of masks, shortage of
Right.
some of the medical supplies, everybody realized, oh shit, we all get our stuff from China.
Right. Right.
And it was like, but the borders are closed because of the pandemic. And,
Hmm.
and shipping products, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the supply chains had come to a halt for several months last
Right.
year. And it was like, everyone was like, yeah, man, China's making everything. Even some of the medications that people
Yep.
needed was being made in China, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
So we really realized how much of a grip they have on the entire world, the
Yep.
entire world. And to think of, when you think of where they were, let's say in the 70s,
Hmm.
to where they are now, this is like they've had a master plan all along, and they've stuck to it, and they've stuck to it, and they've
Yeah.
stuck to it because of the long term thinking and vision that they had of global dominance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was reading a book. I don't know if it was Clash of Civilizations or if it was Sapiens, but they talked about, I think his name was Mao, and he did the Great Leap, and he had this whole plan for how things were going to change around that time, about 40 years ago. And you see it, right? I mean, yeah, world dominance is not. It's an understatement, right? I mean, it's not even like you said, it's not even just on the political point, right, where countries owe money, but businesses, entire businesses. Apple, you would not have Apple if it wasn't for China, because all of the parts are assembled and in China. And so yeah, I mean, 100%. Okay, so a couple other things that came up. One, the um, Destination Africa says hello. They are on Instagram Live and they're saying hi to you and me. Well, educated and informed, excellent conversation. So I just wanted to shout them out. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for joining. And they said hi to you too, Ivy, of course.
Hi.
And and
You were gonna put something on the screen a while back. Oh,
yeah,
here
so
here it is. You brought it up.
yeah, so that was on Instagram Live. So they were on Instagram Live, but on YouTube Live, we have Africa Lency that says, "Hi Ivy, as you're the face of social media for the year of return, have you or your team lobbied for Ghana to have its own national airline?"
No, this isn't something that we've worked on. We've worked on. We haven't spent time trying to lobby for an airline. Starting an airline is a much more complicated thing than people think. People think it's easy to just start an airline, um, but no, it's not something that our team has had conversations about or a focus on. Our team, a lot of one of the things that I realized working with Ghana Tourism Authority year of return and now beyond the return is everybody seems to think that we have the solution to everything in the country. Like the number of things that would come by our office that people would ask us, well, why can't you guys do this? Why can't you guys do that? Why can't you guys do this? And I really sat there one day and I was like, everybody thinks we do everything. And literally the my office, year of return office, the direct office of our team, we're a small team of people. And the amount of weight that a lot of people had expectations for us to be
Mm,
doing, I found it very interesting. You know, I can understand some of the questions that we do get, but I found it interesting because people would ask us about, let's say, let's say, a road somewhere, and I would be like, "We're not the Ministry of Roads. You know, we don't have the resources to be fixing a road. We can have communication with the people who are working on that and who are supposed to be working on that, but I don't physically have the capacity to say I'm fixing a road. I can comment on it, I can have a discussion about it, but our team doesn't have the capacity to do certain things. I had people asking us if Year of Return will pay their school fees, and it was like,
wow.
um, we're not paying school fees. It's not, you know. So it's just interesting. Uh, Lobbying for a national airline is a completely different. Um, that's a huge weight that involves not only government agencies but also would involve some private investment as well, because operating an airline is not a simple task. So last year and earlier this year there was a young woman from Nigeria, a Nigerian woman who was working on doing a flight from Nigeria and Ghana to Jamaica, and doing that had its challenges and was a feat. She chartered the airline herself because there's all kinds of airline taxes and all kinds of landing fees and all kinds of things that people don't realize that go into operating an airline and go into the costs. Um, that she said she was paying out of pocket to rent a plane to go to Jamaica from Nigeria and through Ghana then to Nigeria. And so the fee that she had to charge people for their flights was so high because she had to be able to make up for the cost, because it wasn't a flight that was going to be a multiple booked flight that the costs would come down. It was like a one-off, two-off thing that she was testing to see if it was going to work. I know she had some challenges. I haven't spoken to her recently, but I know that she ran into some challenges with the airline that she rented and with going on schedule and stuff like that. But there's a lot involved in trying to operate an airline. And sadly, if some of those things were adhered to, Ghana would still have an airline, but they went bankrupt. So
Mm,
and since then, there's always been conversation about trying to revive Ghana Airlines. The conversation about reviving Ghana Airlines has been a long, ongoing conversation ever since they went bankrupt. And there was the one plane that was just sitting abandoned in a field that's now been turned into a restaurant, um, close to the airport, actually.
mm.
So it's not something that our team at the Beyond the Return office, formerly Year of Return, is working on. No.
Okay. All right. There's a question from Edward Grice on Instagram Live. He asks, I once heard that Ghana was providing financial incentive for Americans to move to Ghana. Truth or myth?
No. Ghana is not giving financial. I don't see the question. You read it out. You said that
Oh, it's
they
on
heard that
Instagram
Ghana
Live.
is providing. Ah, okay. No, Ghana is not giving money to people to move to Ghana. Ghana does not have. What I find interesting is that Ghana, have to remember too that Ghana is still a developing country. And even though Ghana has put out the call and invitation that people from the diaspora should come and come to Ghana, there's not a pool of money that's being given to people to come to Ghana. There's not a pool of money being handed out to anyone, whether you're a Ghanaian or African American or Caribbean or a Black person from Australia, Europe, whatever it may be. There's not a pool of money being given to anybody. And then I also have to clarify to people because a lot of people have this misconception that when celebrities came to Ghana throughout Year of Return and part of Beyond the Return, that the government paid them, paid their flights. Those people all paid their own flights, they paid their
Mm.
own hotels to come to Ghana. So I just want to make that very clear that government did not pay people's flights, did not pay people's accommodations when they come to Ghana. They paid themselves.
All good points because I know I've heard that and that's come up. All right, so there are a bunch of comments and questions that I missed over the last 20 minutes. But one thing that I wanted to ask you really quickly before I forget, and I think it's good for the audience to hear this. So, what came up yesterday on that live, and by the way, this live was an interview with um, Mr. Ababayo. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Mr. Akwesi Ababio, the Director of
Yeah,
Diaspora
Fabio.
Affairs, Office of the
Yes,
President.
direct. Yes. Okay. See, that's why this is why you have Ivy Prospero in your lives. So yes, all of that. And so one of the things that came up was there was a question about 250 people who were promised or were going through the process of getting citizenship. 126 or something like that got citizenship. Like three or so did not get it because of unsavory past, but then there was some other people. Do you know about what it was that what it was about this group of people that were requesting citizenship and were going to get it? And then because I didn't really understand with the impotence for that, how it started, what that was about, and then why some of them got it and some didn't, because I also didn't really truly understand the answer to that. Did you get that answer?
So, in the Year of Return, the President of Ghana, so the President of Ghana decided that he was going to give citizenship to people by executive order because the
Mm,
president can decide he wants to give citizenship by executive order to people to speed up their process or for whatever reason it may be. So during the Year of Return, the decision was made. And so there were people who had gone through the application process, people who had gone through interviews, different people who'd been living in the country for different numbers of years. You know, he mentioned someone who'd been in the country for 20 years. There were people who lived in the country for 10 years. There were some people who'd been here for 5. Um, and so I don't know the specific answers for each individual person. I just know that there was a portion of the group, which was 126, who went through the process and didn't have any hiccups and then got the citizenship. That's my understanding. My understanding is that there were the others who, for whatever reason, their application didn't process in a timely manner. I can't comment on why specifically for each individual person, but those
right.
people who were left out apparently are supposed to be getting theirs soon, that they're working on getting those people processed. So, um, and as you mentioned, there were some people who didn't get it for whatever reason it may be, because there were some background checks that were done on some people that did not allow for them to continue with the process. But when it comes to citizenship, not only in Ghana but in any country, and they do background checks, sometimes there's things that they discover and decide not to give citizenship to an individual. But it doesn't necessarily deny them residency status, but they can be denied citizenship based on whatever findings they may have. But some of the challenges with some people that cause delays are simply things like paperwork or not following processes. So, for instance, there was a meeting that I had gone to in 2019 where there was a gentleman who said that he'd been living in Ghana over 15 years. And like he stood up. It was an event. Like, there was an immigration officer there who was answering Q&A to people, And this guy stood up on the microphone to ask his question during the Q&A session. Said he's American, he's been in Ghana over 15 years, he does business in Ghana, and he's applied for citizenship, but he still doesn't have it, and he was very upset. And so through him talking publicly in front of the group, it turned out that he kept on leaving the country for extended periods of time. And the immigration officer was like, okay, you need to just come and have a discussion with us privately, because we're not going to have this conversation about all of your personal business in front of everybody. Because
Right.
they said that sometimes it can be on a case by case basis, that if you've applied for citizenship, you apply for citizenship, and then now you get on a plane and you go to the States and you're gone for like 8, 9 months. It's like, do you really want to be a citizen, or what is how a country will look at it? Because even when you're applying for citizenship in the US, I know people who've applied for citizenship in the US, and if you leave in the middle of an application process, sometimes they can look at it as you're abandoning your application. You weren't
Right.
serious about it. You left the country. You didn't notify us you were leaving the country, so you've abandoned your application. So that kind of stuff happens sometimes too. I think that a lot of people who have never had to apply for citizenship in their whole life anywhere can sometimes get lost and not realize some of these things are not exclusive to Ghana, but these are things that countries just do around the world when it comes to the process of citizenship. But at the same time, I also understand a lot of people who are part of the historical diaspora. So the historical diaspora is a term used for people who are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, and it wasn't their fault that they ended up being displaced somewhere else. So I understand that people who are descendants of the captured enslaved Africans, how they feel. I understand that. But on the other side, it's hard to just circumvent rules and regulations that have become in existence over the decades, because we know that as much as those people were transported somewhere else, the people who were left behind were also had colonization, like serious colonization. So, you're contending with both sides. You're contending with things. So I always say to just try to exercise patience as much as possible, because at the end of the day, because of the right of abode in Ghana, really you're not going to get kicked out of the country if you're here. If you're in the
Right.
U.S. and your visa comes up and you've overstayed, and you go to U.S. immigration and you're like, you want to stay longer? Can I stay longer? They're like, hell no, go back to where you came from. It doesn't matter if you try to appeal it. They're like, well, why do you want to stay? Um, but in Ghana, as a black person, a person of African descent is the term. Um, you can be in Ghana and you've overstayed your visa, and then you go to Ghana immigration and you pay for the
Right.
fee that you pay to renew it, and you keep renewing your visa. You keep, or you decide to apply for right of abode to stay in the country. Um, so there's a little bit of an exception to help you because of the right of abode, that a Chinese person or a white European person can't say, I want to stay in Ghana because of the right of abode. Because the right of abode basically says that a black person can stay in the country.
Got it.
So right of abode, ABODE, that's what the law is called. And as I said, it's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that deals with that.
I put this up because Huawei mentioned the right of abode, and I'm trying to, and just she had just mentioned it, so I wanted to make sure I captured it. Or you can get a Ghanaian passport stamp with the right of abode. I guess it's along the lines of what you were saying. I don't know what this is in context to, because this is from like 30 minutes ago. Um, but yeah, anyway, I'm sure it's along the lines of what you were speaking of. Okay, so I want to run through some of these last comments because the comments are coming in like crazy now. Okay, so ECOWAS should pool their funds and have a regional airline, not just Ghana. We need to expand our ideas to be regional and continental wide. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think there are different groups trying to do that. We have ECOWAS. East Africa has their own version of this. Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of cultures and a lot of ideas and a lot of egos. There's a lot going on in all these different countries. To pull all together, it sounds noble, but from what little I know from the last 6 years of coming back and forth, and even just seeing the challenges and inner turmoil intra country, within the country, I can see it might be pretty challenging outside. I mean, they do seem to all get along for the most part from what I've seen. Um, but yeah, I think this is one of those things that's easier said than done, especially when it comes to pooling funds together. Because as Ivy said, no, we're not going to speak about any um, particular politicians, but we know when it comes to funds, sometimes they disappear, and it's very challenging to do something like this across country. But yeah, I mean, ECOWAS was built to do that, right? To build trade between the countries and to be able to. I mean, it allows us to travel between all the countries without having visas and all of that. But I think this is one of those things that's easier said than done. With the very little information I have, that's as much as I will say. I don't know if you have any comment on this, Ivy.
No, I have no comment.
Okay, so moving on. Um, so while okay, so we already talked about that. Ituber says along the same lines, ECOWAS should pull the funds, a regional military, including Navy, patrol our coast and protect the exclusive economic zones that we're now being robbed of. Yeah, I mean, along the lines of what I said before. Yeah, in an ideal world, we would almost like a European Union, or like what's this thing called that the U.S. is a part of? I can't even remember now. It's been
They're
so
part
long
of with what?
with with Europe, like the G6 and all these other things,
Oh,
right? Where
like the
you
G7 and G20, and
yeah, and
Africa's
all
always
those
left off the table on those.
it is, right? But in those cases, they do share in resources and militaries, and they protect each other's countries and things like that. I would love to see ECOWAS do something similar. Again, it's above my pay grade. But I know that there's I'm sure there's conversations happening, but I don't know what kind of work it would take to get that done. But I agree, I think it should be done. Partner with Ethiopian Airlines or Canada Airways, yeah, for the airlines thing. Um, Bigger, better, share the costs. Just more conversations between the group. I don't think the USA allows three citizenships. That's what Tabasco says. Um, if you can make fufu from scratch without getting your hand smashed, then you deserve Ghanaian citizenship. That's funny. I've watched it and I'm not putting my hands in there. You know, where you like do the thing and then somebody goes boom.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, that's not, no,
yeah,
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You have to have perfect timing. Yeah, no.
yeah.
I've watched it
I'm
on
not
many
doing it either.
occasions.
I'm not doing it either.
Have you seen someone close to you do it? Like, have you seen family members do it?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've pounded a couple
Okay.
times. It's a lot of work. I was like, this
Yeah.
is too much work.
Yeah. You start sweating. I
It's too much
mean,
work.
the fufu that I've always had isn't made that way. My mother's from the city in Sierra Leone, so it's not done exactly the same way as it is done in the outer region. So she does it differently. She always made it in a pot with like one of those like wooden spoons, right? And that's how she was doing it. She wasn't like, but yeah, not for me. Not for me. I'm afraid of losing my fingers, and I like my fingers, so I wouldn't do it. But yeah, I get you though. If you could do it, yeah, just for the mere fact that you're willing to do it. Okay, Jack Jackson says, is there an assimilation program being talked about, I guess, with Ghana officials? An assimilation program, I'm guessing you mean like transitioning and understanding what it's like to become a Ghanaian, if you're becoming a Ghanaian citizen, things like that. I don't know. Do you know of any programs that would be like the equivalent to something like assimilation program for citizens, people becoming citizens?
No, not that I know of. I know that people do connect, they do their best to connect with the Diaspora Affairs Office to come and learn things about Ghana. Um, for African Americans who come to Ghana, a lot of them will join the African American Association of Ghana to kind of, coordinate with people who have experience living in Ghana for a long time and kind of learn from them. But there's not a specific program that's geared to helping people how to assimilate to living in
Mm,
Ghana. No,
got it. Just want to shout out a couple
not that I'm
people.
aware of, anyway.
Okay. And just shouting out a couple people, YMCMB 1955. I'm always going to remember that name because I was a big Lil Wayne fan for about 3 years. And then Maris, shout out to you for joining. Okay, so let's run through some of these. There's a few more I want to get through. We are at an hour and 54 minutes. We're at a record in terms of number of people on the live and also the amount of time we've been on live. So thank you for your time today, Ivy. You've helped to increase the numbers in both ways. And you also bring obviously offering a lot of very good insight as well. Okay, Cicely G says you can carry 3 passports with the United States citizenship, even though they say you should renounce the others. Um, okay, I guess I'd have to Google that to be clear on that. Because if I could, then I probably would. Uh, I only have 2 now, but why not have 3? Tabasco says you should hire an editor. Because this one I was saying is the work is challenging. So I do have an editor. However, if you want a good editor, it's very expensive, and so I am actually sharing the costs with a friend of mine, and so that means that I get 1 video per week from that editor. But I'm also looking into a local editor. I actually was just communicating with them right before this live, so more to come on that. Um, Tabasco said, "I heard there's free land in Ghana for the diaspora. Is that true?" I also heard that too, but I also heard that's not true. What do you know about this, Ivy? Have you heard about this free land for diasporans?
So in the central region, there's a chief who has designated, I think, 5,000 acres of land that he decided he was going to give to people in the diaspora community. It's about 20 minutes outside of Cape Coast, and the town is called Asebu. And so there's people who debate, and a lot of people who come online and say that it's a scam and it's not real, and but it's very real. But there is a fee, so it's free land in that you're not buying the land, you're not paying for the land, but you pay $700, which is for getting like the deed and the surveyor of the land and that kind of stuff, and then you have a plot of land. And but it's raw land, so people need to understand it is raw land, because a lot of people
Hmm.
think, wow, I'm getting some land, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that, and it's like, it is raw land, a piece of land that has absolutely nothing. And there's no plumbing, there's no electricity, there's no nothing. So you have to put all of that in. So if you're going to get that land, be prepared to spend the money to build a property, spend the money to get all your plumbing in check, spend the money to get all the electricity and the wiring in check, to spend the money to get this stuff built. So picture if you're somewhere in middle America that has nothing, because there are parts of the United States that are the same way, believe it or not. There's parts of America that have the same situation where there's no running water, no nothing. And then you would have to work on getting that stuff together from scratch. There's also a
Mm.
chief in the northern region who has been doing the same thing. I'm not particularly sure of the exact area, but I do know that there's a chief in the northern region doing the same thing, trying to encourage people to go to the north of Ghana. But I don't have any contact information for that particular one.
So what was the name of the region again? It's 20 minutes outside of Cape Coast. What's the name again?
Asebu. It's spelled Asebu.
Asebu, Asebu. I mean, listen, if you're smart, guys, you can just pay the $700 and hold on to it, and you could potentially resell it to someone else later, right? If you're not, even if you can't build on it, right? So, as you said that, Ivy, I've just wrote it down. I'm definitely going to be getting my little piece of land. Why not?
I see
Um,
somebody in the comments that for I don't, and I'm not telling you to put it on the comment on the screen, but that I find really disturbing. And since being in the digital space doing YouTube content, I'm always so disappointed when I hear people who are very divisive. As
yeah.
Black people, whether you're in America, whether you're in Canada, you're in Jamaica, St. Lucia, Trinidad, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Algeria, Congo, wherever you are in the world as an African or a person of African descent, it always makes me sad when there's people who are negative towards each other, who say bad things towards each other. Because there's somebody I saw in your comments who's basically being disrespectful just because of
Yeah.
your Sierra Leonean heritage. There is nothing wrong with somebody from Sierra Leone heritage who's in Ghana and doing things in Ghana. He's our Black African brother. What is the big deal? We all have our issues in our own countries. We all want to work together. We all want to develop a continent. We all want to do something to work towards the greater good of people of African descent, of Black people. And it just really irritates me when somebody comes and tries to cause division. And I always wonder, is this person even an African, or is it a white person in disguise who's coming on here and trying to cause trouble? Um,
Right.
anyway, I just wanted to say that we're all
Yeah.
about trying to unite. It's unity, it's working together, and it's learning from each other, being creative and learning from each other's differences and supporting each other. So
100%. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ivy. Usually with those crazy comments, I let them go because the engagement is great for the channel. But in this case, I put them on timeout because I see everybody like responding and commenting, and it's like it's distracting from the
yeah, and so
conversation.
now he's the someone said that he's conveniently deleted his comments now that I called him out. He or she,
I
whoever
I,
it is.
I put them on timeout. Well, I put
Ah,
them on.
okay. Okay.
So, but I appreciate that. Thank you for calling it. I didn't even see it. So yeah, so they're on timeout, and they'll likely be blocked. I don't want to distract from such a great conversation. Like, but if this was like a comment on the video afterwards, for sure I would let it rock. Okay, so so Tabasco said I should hire an editor. Oh, the land question. Anthony was saying there's Chinese all over the place. KB says, I believe one sure way of reuniting the continental Africans and the African diaspora is through intermarriages. You
Oh,
know, it's
those
funny.
marriages are happening.
Yeah, even going back to Kwame Nkrumah, right? I mean, that was the thing. At least when you go on the tour of his gravesite and his museum, they say the reason why he married the daughter of the Egyptian prime minister,
Yeah.
right? Was to do that, right? To unite the North and Sub-Saharan Africa. That was the idea, according to the people who do the tour. So yeah, it's happened on a governmental level, and it's definitely happening in all other kinds of areas, for sure. Um, okay, Brandy says, "What's up, Brandy? I think this is the first comment that you had today. Chinese own America, but people never talk about that. True. Just further cementing the point that Ivy mentioned earlier." Anthony says, "They run.
The
I don't
bauxite
know
companies.
what are bauxite.
Bauxite. Bauxite mining. Bauxite is one of
Oh,
the
it's
things that a lot of people are mining in Africa.
mm,
And yeah, Ghana definitely has a lot of bauxite that is being mined.
okay. So it's a metal. Got it. Learn something new every day. I was 37 years old when I learned what bauxite was. All right, so
You're
Tabasco.
so funny. it's
uh,
it's actually I think it's like it's a rock that has
okay.
some aluminum. It's a rock that has some aluminum content to it, and it's a main source used in making aluminum and I think gallium. I think it's called gallium or something like that. But it has a mixture of different types of things that are used, like different minerals that mix into it that can be used for other things. I think it also has a little bit of iron oxide inside it too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not a 100% scientist, but that's from what I remember.
All right, I'm gonna do my Googles after this to find out more about it. Bauxite. Okay, cool. So I guess Asebu Land. It was I
That's
think
it. That's
Odie
the
was
name.
answering this question for
Yeah,
Tabasco
and
earlier.
for anybody who decides to go and get that land, it's not something you can resell, because sometimes people want land because they
Uh,
want to
to
develop
know.
and resell it, but their whole purpose is in creating a legacy. So their whole purpose is if you get that land, your children or children's children or somebody's going to get it. It's not going to be something that you have it, fix something up, and then sell it for a profit. They don't want people doing that. They want to
Okay,
develop a
so
community.
okay, yeah, that's a good point. And a bunch of people said in the comments you can't resell it. So okay, so taking it back, but I'll still buy it anyway because I definitely want to have more land. So yes. Um, and Brat is disagreeing with my answer about me being a Lil Wayne fan for 3 years. She says more like a fan. I know Brat for a while, and Brat seems to think that I was a bigger Lil Wayne fan than I was, because at one point in time my dress code very much matched how Lil Wayne and friends. Anyway, that's
Really?
off topic.
Oh, I got to
Yeah,
see those
yeah,
pictures.
oh yeah, yeah. It was a thing. It was a thing. In like 2004 to 2000 like 12, but it wasn't just Little Wayne. It was like Dipset. It was like a whole thing. Yeah, it was a thing. Like you can't imagine it now, seeing how I dress now, but back then, yeah, for sure, it was a thing. Like when they wore
Interesting.
they wore thermal shirts under the t-shirts. If you remember that, the belts with like the skulls on it, bejeweled belts, that kind of craziness. Yeah, I was doing all that, wearing Gucci sneakers and Prada sneakers. Yeah. Anyway, not anymore. All right, let's go back through. There was some conversations about um, some of the things we talked about: Chinese in America, Chinese shares, major companies in Viacom, Texaco, Uber. Yep, of course. Um, China has a major stake in 3M too. Anthony is saying that. Can Ivy tell us more about the push towards domestic tourism and how that came about?
So the push on domestic tourism came about as a result of the pandemic. So the
Mm,
pandemic saw huge losses in tourism, international tourism. So there was about a between 70 to 74% decline in tourism because of the pandemic, people not traveling internationally. And in Ghana, the number one tourists that come to Ghana are Americans. And so with the border closures that happened last year, that meant no Americans were coming. Um, and even when the borders opened up again, Americans still weren't coming. So we realized the number two. Who do you think is the number two? Who do you think is number two? I'm asking you now. Um, who do you think is number two? Or did I tell you this already? For
you told me,
travelers.
so I want
Okay,
to
I
I want
did
to
tell
leave
you.
it to the group to try to guess. Does the group know who's the number two group that travels to Ghana outside of Americans or Black Americans? I guess you're saying, right? Or Americans, right? Does
I see
anybody know? Does
some.
anybody want to have a guess? Let's see. Let's see. Chinese is a guess from Candid. Um. So yeah. Okay, we have Nigeria as a guess. Jamaicans is another guess. UK is a guess. I see UK coming in. We got two answers for UK. All right, let's give it another second or so. Okay, Jamaica's another one. Um,
Okay, I see a few guesses there. I see a few guesses there. And
Nigerians. Okay.
so it is Nigerians. Nigerians are the number two visitors globally to Ghana. Our brothers
You,
from Niger, brothers
and
and
you can
sisters from
see it.
Niger,
You
are the
see it
number
everywhere
two.
for sure. They are
And
here.
so, with domestic tourism, it's a combination of the domestic and regional tourism is the push. So people are with the surrounding countries of ECOWAS, particularly our brothers and sisters from Nigeria, are a big chunk of that. And so with promoting domestic tourism, it's also about promoting um, stimulating our own economy, and that we shouldn't always rely on America to be the stimulus in people traveling and patronizing different parts of our country. So when we patronize our own places, we can feel confident knowing that you've spent money in a business that's helping someone locally, or regionally, if it's somebody coming from another ECOWAS country to come and see Ghana. So the domestic tourism push by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture is largely linked to that, to really promote getting to know your own country, getting to know your own home, getting to know the region as well. So yeah, it's something that they're hoping will be another alternative to promoting travel, because a lot of Ghanaians in particular usually only travel when they're going to funerals, when they're going to
Mhm.
weddings, or if they're going to a baby naming ceremony. So now it's like this whole thing of showcasing other parts of the country and showing that you don't have to be going for an event to go and see another part of your own country, that people travel outside to come and see your country. Why not you go see your own country, or people regionally also to see your country as well? So, part of that was when they launched the double decker bus in Accra for Accra City Tours. They're hoping that it becomes successful enough that there'll be a bus in, Kumasi and maybe in other cities as well to see your own city. So yeah, so that's where the whole idea came from, was because the pandemic forced people to try to be creative and figure out different ways of doing things, and that's one of the things.
Nice, nice. So there are a couple more questions. Well, there are a lot more questions and a lot more comments, but I want to try to get to a couple more because we are at 2 hours and 9 minutes, a record by far. Okay, so a couple questions specifically for you, Ivy.
Uh-huh.
This one is from Brandy. Brandy asks, Ivy, have you ever thought about running for president of Ghana?
I've been asked this question many times before. No, I do not want to be president of any country. No, I enjoy my freedom. When you become a president of a country, yeah, I like my freedom. I like, no, I don't want to be president. But thank you for the compliment. I
Yeah, that's a
appreciate
huge
it.
compliment. I
It
mean,
is. It
that's a
really is. And I'm honored when people do ask me that question. But I
well,
don't want
listen,
to
you
be a
have my
president.
vote. You have my vote. Okay. Okay, so Anthony says, why does the government of Ghana resuscitate the Bureau of Diaspora Affairs? Isn't there? Is
I
what is
don't
it?
know about, because this is he talking about the Diaspora Affairs Office inside the presidency? Because the Diaspora Affairs Office has been in existence since 2017. So I don't know if there's something different he's talking about. But the Diaspora Affairs Office is inside Jubilee House,
Mm.
um, at the presidency, and they've been around since 2017. So I'm not sure if there's something else he's referring to, but they are around.
We'll have to check the comments if he with something else. But yeah, I mean, what I was referring to earlier was a interview with the director of Diaspora Affairs last night that was talking about dual citizenship. So there's definitely an office of Diaspora Affairs, as Ivy just mentioned. I don't know if if the bureau is something different. Okay, Jack Jackson says Ghana has already decided to open the airline. Okay, so this is talking about the airlines.
There have been stories about the airlines opening for years. So I don't
Okay,
know what's accurate and what's not. I read stories about the airline reopening like all the time for the last 5 years. And there's
okay,
always different stories. So I don't know how accurate it actually is.
okay. Cool. Okay, background
So
checks.
if he has information, you should share the link, because
Yeah. Yeah, share the link to the news story that's talking about it. We'd love to share it with the folks in the group and get an update. Okay. Um Brandy Jackson says background checks are very important. Ghana has the right to deny people if they deem fit. Yep. So we're talking about just not everyone getting citizenship. Basically, if you get the right abode stamped on your Ghanaian passport, looks like a visa or permit. It proves your other citizenship, so you won't have to carry or travel with two passports. Okay, I think we were talking about. I think this is in response to earlier when we were talking about not
earlier.
having to have that card, and you could just have your two passports, but this allows you to have one. Okay, NATO is what I was talking about. One version of what I was talking about when I was trying to figure out the what America is a part of. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, I think, is what NATO is. When I was talking about the U.S. being a part of other things, NAFTA is another one. Yeah, North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement. I've been doing my studying of what's going on in America these days, huh?
Yeah, NAFTA is North American Free Trade Agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico.
Right. Yeah. So, and that makes more sense than NATO because it's all neighboring countries. That's more like what we want to see ECOWAS doing because they're all neighboring countries. Um,
Well, right now there's the there's the African Free Trade African Continental Free Trade Area, which is ACFTA. That was
mhm.
launched in officially January 1st, 2021, and the Secretariat Office for the African Continental Free Trade Area is in Accra. They chose Accra, and their whole purpose is about promoting trade amongst African countries, with free trade between the countries. So that is something that was just launched this year, and they're hoping will help to boost trade between African countries. So that is something that we hope will see a great impact across various sectors throughout the continent of Africa.
Nice. Okay, so Candid Jewel says, "Hey, Candid, I think this is your first time on the live. Thanks for stopping by." She says, "Hey, wondering if you know why Black Americans can't seek asylum in Ghana." Um, Seek asylum? Well, so I can at least speak to the asylum thing, right? From what I understand, seeking asylum, I think is it might be tough to consider leaving the U.S. as seeking asylum. That might be even difficult already, right? Using that as the definition for why you're leaving. So at least from what I understand, there's like a criteria for what's listed as asylum. I think I can't speak to what it is in Ghana, but in the U.S., for instance, there's very strict criteria for what you need to be able to do to seek asylum in the U.S. And so I don't know if a Black American could potentially use that, but I mean, I don't know, Ivy. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
because typically, globally, they term that having the right of asylum is a concept that a person is being persecuted by their own country, and that they most often feel that their lives are at threat in their own country, and so they have to prove that in order to seek asylum somewhere else that is seen as a safer place to go. And in global the global concept of things. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but and we know the world is not run by Black people, but in the global concept of things, they wouldn't see, based on my opinion, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but they wouldn't see leaving the United States as a place that you're leaving to seek asylum in an African country. This is just from the global standpoint. They'll see it like, well, the United States, you're leaving the United States. How is the United States a place you're leaving to seek asylum somewhere else? But usually, when you're seeking asylum somewhere else, it's usually because that other country, it would be considered safer, which on the Global Peace Index, Ghana is safer than the United States. Ghana listed number 38 safest country in the world. The United States is 122 safest country in the world in the 2021 Global Peace Index. But that being said, usually you get asylum somewhere that they would not normally allow you to stay. So, for example, let's say, like if we use the US as the example, because I know that a lot of Black people have brought this up because of the fear of police brutality, the fear of the things that have happened with people being killed, unarmed people Black people being killed. Let's say they want to go to Canada, and it's, it means you're going somewhere that you're not necessarily allowed to be a citizen, but you just go because you're going to seek asylum, and then they'll allow you to come in and stay indefinitely because you're seeking asylum. Um, that's what I'm thinking. But it's not a conversation that's really been had. But I have heard African Americans say that they wanted to ask about seeking asylum in Ghana. So if you come to seek asylum, does that mean that you're giving up your American citizenship? Does that mean you're saying that you're renouncing your American citizenship and you want to give that up to become a Ghanaian citizen? Those are questions that I ask people to think about, because a lot of times people want to leave America, but you don't want to give up that American citizenship, because it does come with its benefits. As bad as the history has been on the treatment of Black people, having that passport, having that citizenship does come with its benefits. And if you seek asylum from there, you essentially are saying you don't want ties with that country because of what that country represents in your life. Because people who seek asylum somewhere, they don't even want ties to where they're leaving,
Right.
if I get it right. But I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you my opinion based on things that that I've seen, and based on the global view on what asylum seekers are. Because usually when you see stories about asylum seekers, they're like leaving war torn countries. They're like leaving places where literally there's bombs being thrown in their neighborhood, and they really want to seek asylum. Like how we're seeing a lot of the Afghanistan people from Afghanistan seeking asylum somewhere. Those people would be seeing themselves as asylum seekers more than an American. And I'm not saying that leaving America as a Black person who has fear of police is not something that you should be fleeing from. I'm just giving those examples of the global perspective of it. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, well put. I would say, yeah, I mean, sounds it should be a conversation for sure. I don't know exactly how it would pan out. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that, like, you know, in theory, right, you can make the argument for sure. But then that's the other piece is like giving up the citizenship. That's my thing. Like, I wanted to leave the US, but I didn't want to give up my citizenship. So I fall into that camp of people who
Yeah.
are like, I still want the benefits of having the US citizenship. I just don't want to be living there full time. But that might not be everyone's case. But yeah, that's all great points. I don't think we can solve the world's problems on this one, but
No.
that's an interesting.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that, and
I have
it's
heard
something.
people have asked that question before.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
great question to ask. I've never thought about it, and now it's in my mind. So I want to think about that and maybe see what other conversations are happening around that, and maybe on the next live we can bring up that topic again.
Yeah.
Um,
I've seen that question multiple times.
okay, cool, cool. Miss P says, "Thank you, Ivy," from something from earlier. It's probably from the troll that was on. Um, okay, so Joni, I think. First of all, I think it's the first time you've commented, so shout out to you. Thanks. The problem with bauxite mining is the land is useless after the mining is done. Interesting.
That's
Okay.
true.
Okay. Um, okay. Da. Candace says, thanks for the feedback. Appreciate both of your input. You're welcome. Anthony says, if Ghana starts granting asylum, the U.S. will pressure them in the international community. In short, the U.S. will not allow it. It would be embarrassing for them. Yeah, that's possible. Um, Can you hold two passports at one time? Yes. So
Yes.
Mommy's asking this question. Yes, we did talk about this a little earlier. I hold two passports currently as a Sierra Leonean and an American. So it's definitely something that you can do. And I think, and Ivy was mentioning before, some countries don't allow it. And I also heard that there are other places that you can have three or even more, right? So I think it's all dependent on we as Ivy said, it's all dependent on the country. I don't know if you have anything else to add because you were the one who
No.
had the insight. Okay. Um, okay. So Anthony responded to Mame and said, "I know persons who have three citizenships." Okay, cool. All right, guys, we are now at 2 minutes. Sorry, 2 minutes. 2 hours and 22 minutes. By far, this is the record for the longest live that I have done so far. So thank you to Ivy for your time. Been very, very insightful. I can tell a lot of people got a lot out of it because we have the most people we've ever had on a live and for the longest amount of time we've ever had people on. So this absolutely was informative for them. So I appreciate you stopping by.
No
Um,
problem.
do you have any final words, thoughts, anything you want to say to the audience? Oh, you know what? Where can people find you? Let's start with that. And if you have anything else, you can mention that afterwards. But where can people find you online?
Just type in my name and you'll find me, Ivy Prosper, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. It's always Ivy Prosper.
And on Facebook,
And if you,
apparently.
I do have a Facebook page, yes. But if I don't know you and you do a Facebook request on my personal page, I probably am not going to add you. Just letting you
Okay.
know. Because people go to my personal page and request to be friends on Facebook. And I think I probably have like 600 requests right now that I have not responded to.
Word. I'm sort
Um,
of in the same position. But you have a fan page, right? On
I
because
have a fan page.
I definitely tagged your fan page in the post today. But
Yes, that is the page that I like people to go to when I don't know you personally.
There it is. That's fair. That's fair. Um, and then any parting words, anything you want to say to the group before we bring this to a close?
Um, just, keep your curiosity coming when it comes to Ghana and other African countries. That, this is a great time to be alive and to be aware of the possibilities in the continent of Africa, because a lot of African countries only gained independence, between 60 to 60 plus years, and so a lot of them are still learning. A lot of them, unfortunately, are trapped under the guise of their colonial people who ran them before, but they're
Hmm.
really working towards improving and becoming better as much as they can. And what we're seeing is we're in an era when a lot of people are starting to show the potential in the continent. And so I always say to people that investing, if you're able to invest, because that's the thing, is not everybody has a financial capacity to make investments, but if you're able to invest, it's a good idea to try to invest in something that is for the long term. So we see names like Louis Vuitton. You see names like Chanel. You see names, like the Rockefeller family or whatever it may be. And these people are people who are living off of the legacies of their family members who were like, 100, 150, 200 years ago.
Right.
So it's important that when you're doing something right now, that you're often thinking about the lasting legacy that you're trying to build for the future, that it's not just about you today, but it's about maybe your children's children's children. And if you don't have children, or if you're not having children, you're still doing something that you're looking at as a legacy for your people, that you're building something. Like I saw a young guy in his driving his Uber. I was in an Uber car, and everything in the Uber was Louis Vuitton mats, Louis Vuitton chair covers. I knew they weren't real Louis Vuitton. I knew they were fake stuff, but it's all over his seats, his mats. There was like a fur thing over the mirror. Like everything had the LV symbols on it. And so I
Hmm.
started a conversation with him. I was like, "Do you know anything about Louis Vuitton?" Like, and he's like, "Oh, I just love it. I just love it. It's just I love it. I love the logo. I love this." And then I said to him, I said, "You know that this brand has become a huge global powerhouse, and is the LVMH together, which is Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, brand together, is the biggest brand in the fashion and beauty industry in the world, the fashion industry in the world." And it started with a homeless guy who saw the need for specific type of suitcases for people who were on, at the time, people were doing the train transit and stuff. He saw the type
Right.
of suitcases that were needed and designed a suitcase and started selling it. And now it's become the multi-billion-dollar business that it is today. And when he started it as a young teenager homeless guy, and his I think his son ended up taking over, and then another family member took over, and so it was something that a legacy was created. You know, when Chanel died, someone took over the brand, and the brand continued.
Right.
Versace died, and I mean that was a more recent one. Versace was, killed in '97. His sister took over the brand. I'm sure that they have a legacy plan of who's going to take over when she's gone. And our people, we have a bad habit of not preparing a legacy plan for the things that we do. Who's going to take over your business afterwards? Unfortunately, in Ghana, you see someone will start a business, and then when they die, the business collapses because nobody's been groomed to take over, and then it just collapses. you
Mm.
know um, so I think it's important that we're in a good time. If you have the resources to invest in things, take advantage of the opportunity to do so, to try to invest as much as you can. Um, in Ghana and other African countries, real estate and agriculture are two places that, if you have the capacity and capabilities to do so, it's great to invest in it. And then investing in the people. For me, because I'm not a millionaire with all kinds of money to be dropping dimes everywhere, but I do my best to try to put knowledge into young people through the conversations that I have with them, because I look at the knowledge that I may give to those young people as things that will change their mindset and help them have a different perspective on how they do things. And if they have a different perspective on how they do things, then they'll be able to do something differently, that they'll be able to show someone else that they could do something differently that can help their future, and so on and so forth. Like the young guy I was talking to, he was like, who's gonna help him do his business? How is he gonna do something? And some of the things we talked about, he realized that he has the capacity to start, because if you don't start, nothing's going to happen. But
Right.
now his eyes are open that he can just start. um so yeah, that's my message. Just, this is the time that you can take advantage of opportunities. And if you can't move, because not everybody can say they're going to pack up and move to Africa, because you have your life wherever you are, you've built a life, you're doing things, but you can still find ways to connect and invest if you want to. There's Americans sitting in the United States who've bought stocks in companies somewhere else, and they've never been there. So you don't have to have come to see an opportunity to invest. Just do your research, spend your time doing your research before you spend your money on anything. But take your time, and anything's possible with patience. Anything's possible.
Very well said. I don't have anything to add to that. There is just one thing that somebody offered us for information. They said to, and this is
Manana
Manana,
channel.
Manana. Yes. If anyone wants to know more about the Asebu land, should watch the Ekal Simpson. He works
Yes.
there.
Yes, he's
Okay.
actually shown some video of somebody who's building on the property, on the lands there. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good one.
Nice, nice. Okay, cool. Well, all right. With that, thank you again, Ivy. This
You're
has been
welcome. And again, I'm sorry that I
wonderful.
had to pop in late because my internet was so whacked out.
No worries, no worries. I mean, I think the information was really informative, and whenever you got in, it was really really helpful. So I learned a lot even from this. So thanks again for doing this. I would love to have you again. I think the audience would love to have you again as well. So we'll see if we can find another date and time where you can come back. And for those of you who are watching, I am going to go live again next Monday. We do have another special guest, but I will share that a little bit later. And thanks all for watching. Make sure you comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Make sure you let other people know who are planning to make the move or who want to get dual citizenship or even planning to visit, to watch this video and to watch this channel, and also to follow and subscribe to Ivy's channel as well. And on that
Yes.
note, on that note,
And
thanks
you
for
can
all
buy
for
my
watching.
book. My book,
Oh
Your
yeah,
Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana. My book is
yes,
called Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana.
yes, yes. I
Second
completely got it.
edition on Amazon. It's also
And by
on
the way,
Walmart Books.
okay, so Walmart Books, it's on Amazon. When I do the replay of this, it will be in the description so that you can see the link there. And then you guys can look at the other content Ivy and I have done together. She's interviewed me. Her interview with me is on her channel. I've also borrowed it and put it on my channel as well. I interviewed Ivy, and we did another live previously. My first ever live. Ivy was like coaching me through it. She's like, "You gotta put the comments on the screen." So
Oh yeah, I
anyway,
forgot about that.
so go ahead, check that out too. So you guys can see if I've improved at all with my live since then. So thanks again, Ivy. Thanks everybody for watching. That's it. We'll see you guys all on the next video. Bye, guys. What am I trying to do here? Oh, here we go.